We are. We're live. Daniel the Adjuster. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, back live again. It's been a whole week. All right. How's everybody doing? How you doing, everybody? Everybody out there? All right. Just trying to get everything settled here. All right. I got some glasses, man. Look at this. I got some eyeballs all messed up in here. So I'm going to change that light around so it's not right in my eyeballs. Oh, that's a little better. It's a little better. Trying to figure out the lights. Last thing you guys want to do is see my lights in my glasses. Sorry, I'm blind as a bat, so I have to see my glasses. Danielle, hey, good, welcome back. I remember you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you guys so much for coming and seeing my live. It's been a whole week, and man, lots of things have happened, and I wanted to just jump on here and enjoy talking to you guys again. So we'll see what we can talk about today. I'm trying to think what I'm supposed to be staring at. Is it over there? Is it over there? Trying to get your eye contact, okay? So trying to figure out what exactly I need to be staring at so I can look you in the eyes and stare you down. Okay. All right. So, what's new in the adjuster world for you guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So excited you guys joined me. This is great. Well, hey, Julio, I remember you. You are brand new. Leaving some comments. Thank you so much for coming. Too many fish. Hello from the Discord server. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yes. Hey, guys, yeah, don't forget about my Discord. Absolutely. Hey, Keith. Matthew, welcome back. This is my staff adjuster. So yeah, so don't forget the Discord, guys. I've got about 68 people, not a ton of people on there right now, but great place. This is kind of like what I designed that Discord for, was a lot like when I first started adjusting, is I had a forum to go to. And I learned so much on that forum. And it was totally amazing because questions that you have may not be the ones that I'm actually putting on there that you want to hear. So when somebody else is in the same position or time frame that you are as a new adjuster, or even an average or medium adjuster, you might be asking questions that I don't think about, that I don't think should be discussed, just because I'm not there. So the forum, the Discord, really opens up opportunities for you guys to discuss questions that you have with each other. And if there's a big question you don't know what the answer is, man, I can help you. So that's cool. So links in the bio for the Discord. Make sure you join up. And Keith, I am so happy that you passed your exam. I'm so happy, you guys. Hey, Paul. Cool. Very cool. Yes, it's always good to be busy. I've been slow, so I'm the opposite. I think I got like 12 claims this week, and I think I had 3 re-inspections. So boring. Re-inspections are a nightmare, just for those that have to do them. They're a pain in the neck. I just hate them. So yeah. Maybe I'll get on a rant and talk about that, but anyways, so glad you guys are here. Got my level 1 and 2 on Friday, or no, level 1 on Friday. Awesome, Matthew. Kind of mad it only lasts for 2 years. Hey, don't even pay attention to that. I never renewed mine. Matthew, you don't need to. Once you get your certifications, you just flash that piece of paper, man, to any firm that wants to do it. They never ask for it again. Because once you have level 1 and level 2, all you're doing is saying, I know the program. So you upload it once into their portal, they never ask you for it again. Don't ever renew it. I mean, I'm on my 10th year. Gotta be almost my 10th year in November. And no one has asked me for I think you need to go back and get your recertification for Xactimate. I'm not sure you know how to use that program. So skip it. Once you get it, make a photocopy of it, and every time somebody says if you're certified, you just scan it over, send it in with your resume, and you never have to worry about it. Hey, and by the time 3 years goes by, if you've been an IA working claims, you don't ever have to prove that you're capable of handling claims again. So just keep that in mind. So totally cool. All right. So yeah, too many fish? No, don't listen to Matthew. Just kidding. All right, let's see. I'm glad you're here, Paul. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do get busy on Sundays, and you gotta finish up your work, whatever you're doing, especially if you're deployed to a cat. You're gonna be busy. I remember being on cats and having to work crazy hours on Sunday just to try and catch up. And a lot of times, all your file reviews come back, and you know, like in this world, as an adjuster, Sunday's not really like I take Sundays off, which means I don't schedule any claims. But it's not a day that I can actually say I'm never doing anything as far as work, because every Sunday I get claims that come in, I've got to call them, I've got people that didn't return my calls on Saturday, so I got to make the calls again on Sunday, because they get every single day you have to make contact with these people, whether they answer your phone or return your call or not. So Sunday is a day I make contacts. Sunday is a day I get new claims in. I've got to call them, I have to schedule them. I don't hold anything over. So what I mean by that is if I handle claims on Saturday, I'm not writing them on Sunday, because that's not my style. My style is always finish what you schedule or what you inspect today, make sure you get it done that day. That's just A+ rule for adjusters. You want to succeed in this world, you turn in your file every single day that you write one, or you inspect it, you turn it in the same day. And it has to be in before midnight, because 12:01 is the next day as far as Xactimate is concerned, so then you would be a day late. So it shows up. It's just on that tracking software they use. It's got to be in before 11:59, because 12 is the next day. So yep, got to keep that in mind. Starting shadowing at my next staff job tomorrow. Excited to learn exactly what the job specifics are, because I still haven't been told the actual job details. No worries. Hey, when you get a new deployment or a new job in any of this world, they are not expecting you to know everything when you walk in. That's the whole point. When I walked into State Farm training, yes, I was certified in State Farm training, but I didn't know ECS. I didn't know what State Farm was going to do or how to handle those claims. They're going to teach you. So whatever the job you're going into, and it's no different in this job versus any other career in the world, you have a skill set, meaning you're licensed, you're legit, you can go in and be an adjuster. They're going to train you what your job is going to do. It's no different than a factory worker. Yeah, he might have had a factory job before, but he didn't do that exact job that you're getting skilled or you're being trained in to do, so you're going to be trained. So don't worry about training. They'll teach you it all. Love the lives. You've helped me more than you know, Daniel. Cool. Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate it. All right. Hey, Hatham. All right. Thanks for joining me. Hey, you know what? I had a guy from Germany on a live, and he's also leaving some comments. So his name is Bex Neb. So if you're out there, cool. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Again, some pretty cool people. Julio's brand new. Thank you for joining me. D Nice. I hope he comes on. He's been asking me. I think, guys, I'm gonna have to give him a reward. Okay, so D Nice, you're out here, man. I'm gonna have to give you a reward. I think he watched every video I have, because he was leaving a comment after every video. And great, Hatham. All right, that's so awesome. Pass the exam. So cool. But no, D Nice, man, he's totally amazing. He's like, he'd watch the video, and about 15 minutes later, he'd write me a comment and say, great video, oh, I like that one. And then, and then 15 more minutes later, he'd send me another comment, watch another video. I think he was watching for like 2 or 3 hours. I mean, poor guy. Being bored to tears watching all my stuff. But no, but man, he's going to be a great adjuster, because there's so much information. So, dude, I mean, if you want to watch all the videos, go for it. There's so much information. You can learn a lot. So yeah, D-Nice, Josh C. Another great new adjuster is asking me a bunch of questions. So hey, good job. We're gonna be moving on through this. Matthew had some good comments this week too. Thank you for those comments. It's good to throw that stuff out. It really helps a lot. Jerry Russell, he posted for the first time. He was a good comment. And Corey Davis. I hope he comes on here. Corey, bless his heart. All right, so he downloaded my macros a couple weeks ago. And the poor guy, he's a silent sufferer because he couldn't figure out for the life of him how to get he was having software problems, just endless problems. So finally on Friday, I think it was, he says, man, I've tried for like a week or two, and I just can't there's something wrong with my computer, whatever, but can you call me? So I got on the phone with Corey, and we walked through the whole process, and we got it working for him. But there were just some computer glitches that he was having, and some stuff that was going on that just wasn't clear. And bless his heart, he was a silent sufferer. But anyway, so we got Corey hooked up now. He's got the macros, and he's really happy. And I don't know if I can say this on here or not, but I might reserve that. He's got a job at a State Farm coming up, and he's going to take his macros with him. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So anyway, so cool. All right. So apparently they are guaranteeing assignments to qualified adjusters. Gamar, hey, thanks for coming in here. Houston, yes. There are tons of jobs. I mean, tons of people writing me saying they're getting deployed, guys. So if you aren't hearing anything and you want to be deployed to a position, remember I talked to you guys about this. Don't wait for the phone to ring. Call everyone that you got on the roster with and just politely say, hey, I'm just checking in. I know I filled in my roster here with you a couple of weeks back. I just want to check, let you know that I'm still waiting. I'm available. I got all my licenses in place, whatever. If there's anything else you want me to do, let me know because I'm ready to deploy. So you just know that. And those people will be so excited that you called. It'll get your name written on a list that, hey, you're ready to go. And it's amazing how fast I got deployed by just calling. And they just, it brings your name fresh to their mind that you're excited to work and you're ready to go. So just keep, you guys want to be deployed, there's plenty of opportunity, plenty. Let's see, Daniel, can you help us with the link to apply if there's an event? Julio, tell me a little more about that. I'm not understanding. A link to apply if there's an event. I'm not giving any events, but I know what you're probably talking about. Yeah, so typically when storms occur, they are just basically calling out to the firms and saying, hey, I need 12 adjusters, or I got a hailstorm in Minnesota, we need 50 adjusters, whatever. They're calling the firms. So the reason you're going to get on to these rosters is because you want your name to be listed on a roster so that if they have to go down the list and go, I need 50 people, then you're an active roster, you're an active person on their roster, you've got your licenses, you've got the license in that state that the event occurred in. So if you don't have a Minnesota license, guess who's not getting a call? They're not going to call Texas adjuster to go to Minnesota. You got to get a Minnesota license. So that's what I'm saying, get all your stuff ready because they're not going to call you if a South Carolina storm happens and you don't have a South Carolina license. Not going to happen. So this is why it's not really you're just getting on these rosters and saying, okay, I'm ready to go. I got all these licenses. And here's where I used the opportunity to recontact them is as soon as I got a new license or a new certification, I called them. I called every roster that it was on. Oh, I just want to let you know, I just uploaded my blank license, blank certification, and I just want to let you know that I added that to my roster. And some of them will be like, well, we get a notification every time that you send us in new stuff. I go, well, I just wanted to make sure. And again, brings your name to their top of their table. And you're going to remember, there's deployment managers that's all they do. In these big firms, they have deployment people, managers and staff, the people who call everybody. So when you get to know those names, write down the name of the person that you're talking with, and you ask for that person the next time you call and say, do you remember I talked to you about 2 weeks ago? I just want to let you know I got a new license. I just uploaded it to the portal. And they're going to be like, yeah, I remembered you. And you're going to start to build this relationship. I mean, I got to know one of my deployment people, so awesome, first name basis, you know, we were on Twitter together. I mean, it was so natural. And then she calls me all the time, I want to be deployed. So we get to know each other, and it's a really great thing. And then she changed jobs, and then I was all bummed out because now I had to learn a new person. So yeah, it's always cool. Oh boy, you got to burn up comments, man. This is great. Where are all the storms this year, Daniel? Oh, brother. Yeah, no kidding. So it is a slow year right now for all the big events. But that doesn't mean anything. I think I just saw the other day one of the largest hurricanes that happened in Alabama or something like that was this year's anniversary, or the state's anniversary. So there are events that occur. That's why I was saying in this business, it's a cycle. It literally is this cycle. If it didn't happen this year, it's probably going to happen next year for whatever state. So I was telling you, if you get the state licenses around on the coastline, if South Carolina doesn't hit this year, it's going to hit next year. Something's going to happen about every other year. So it just changes. So right now we got a bunch of, real hot weather in Texas, which is going to heat up. I bet you our first storm's in Texas. There's just so much heat going on over there. The Gulf waters are warming up. I think that's going to be. Make sure you get your Texas license, and you're going to be rolling. So yeah, it's just a cycle. It all happens. And same with North Carolina. North Carolina, we get a storm about every couple years, 3 years. But when we get one, dang, we get a storm. And I'm telling you, we get a lot of work from it. And then we work those storms for a long time. So it's great. So that's the way the cycle works. So I am home inspection. Do you think will help me for the adjuster? Yes. Louisiana. Awesome. Yes. Hatham, I lived in Louisiana, and they were begging for me to come and work there. I lived in Covington, and only there a short period of time, but oh yeah, I go down to New Orleans, there's people down there all the time opening claims. So yeah, get your Louisiana license, talk to all the firms and say, I'm here in Louisiana, I'm ready to go. But get your licenses. As a home adjuster, or a home inspector, you have basically lots of experience in building, so you're gonna need to get the software. So level 1 and level 2 certification, gotta get it. They will not hire you unless you have that certification, because otherwise you're basically saying, I don't know the software. So the firm is gonna say, I don't need you because you don't have the software. You don't know the software. That's the basics of this business, is Xactimate software. So if you don't know it, which is level 1 and level 2, proving that you know it, then they are gonna pass you by. It's just not gonna, and when they look for adjusters to call, they do all the click boxes. I need somebody who has level 1, level 2. I need a Louisiana license. I need 3 years experience, whatever. They do all the clicking. And then if they don't get all those things lined up and they only get one adjuster and he's not willing to go, they'll take out one of those clicks and say, okay, we're not looking for 3 years experience. Maybe we'll just do 1 year experience. So that's how the firms find people to fill these positions when the carrier calls them and says, hey, we need 3 adjusters in Louisiana. We got a big event that occurred. And now 3 doesn't sound like much, but they could load each person up with 40 claims each. And and as soon as you're done that, there can be more. So you gotta remember, staff adjusters or local adjusters are handling as much as they can handle. It's only when they can't do it all that they have to bring in a CAT adjuster to fill in. So that's where we come in. We can fill in where they can't do the work. So streetwise, hey, do you know how many adjusting firms should I work for at one time? That's actually kind of relative to how much each of them can provide for you. So I work for Alacrity and Compass, and they pretty much provide everything that I can do. And that's just because Alacrity has like 5 carriers that I work for. Now some, I only see a claim once or twice a week from that carrier. But if you add up all those 5 carriers and then you start getting, 6 from this one, 2 from that one, 5 from that one, 3 from that, and it starts to really add up. And then I have another with Universal, Compass, I work for Universal, and they provide a lot. And so I used to work for a lot more. So when I was new, this is what I recommend you guys do. When you're new, you want to get on and take everybody. You want to say yes to everybody. I'll take 1 claim from you, sure. I'll do it in 1 claim. And then by the time you get in there, you might have, I think I worked for about 6, 7 firms or something at one time. And it just got to the point where I had to say, well, we're back off 1. So you take the lowest paying one, or the people that you don't like as much, meaning if our reviewers are really hard or really picky or whatever, then you might just say, you know what, I really appreciate it, but I don't think I can handle as much work from you anymore. Can you just hold off on my claims for a little bit? I'm just got to catch up. And just be polite. You don't have to burn your bridges, but you're just telling them that you just don't have the time to work their claims. And really what you're doing is you're kind of weeding out the bad firm. Or not a bad firm, but just the least effective for you. This might be a firm that makes you drive too much. Their claims are too far away. 2-hour drive, to do a claim that most of the time isn't covered. So you're like, I'm not making hardly any money doing this claim, it's just a lot of work. Or they have a funky way of doing their paperwork, or their bundling, or they use a third-party bundler instead of doing things in Xactimate. You'll see this all the time. And I started going through FileTrack with a bunch of these firms, and I was like, FileTrack, man, you need to grow up and get Xactimate, man. This is like, we can do it all in Xactimate. We don't need FileTrack. So anyway, so it's just, that was the ones that I started dumping, was because like, hey, you're using out-of-date software, and you're making it difficult on us to have to put all this together in a certain order, so then I started moving those away. So yeah, at the beginning, say yes to everybody, and then eventually you can weed them out. And they know that, everybody knows that, so. Let's see, where's the most strategic location to live in the United States to be an IA? Well, good, Michael, a good question. I actually did some research into that a long time back because I wanted to know where I could live. Okay, so depending on your licenses, so let's say, you have no interest in ever working California claims, you have no interest in being in Oregon, I don't want to go to the West Coast, I don't want to do nothing on the West Coast. I made that decision because I was like, Texas is it, Oklahoma is it, I'm not going any more west than that. I had no interest in going to North Dakota, South Dakota. It's just too far. So depending on where you live, you have to look at, if I'm get called for a catastrophe, they want me there in 24 hours. So I always made a decision to live somewhere where I could get anywhere where I'm licensed in less than 24 hours. Now, even better than that, I said within 2 days drive. And the reason why I say 2 days drive is, yes, they want you there in 24 hours, but if you say I'm going to take another day, they don't care. As long as you can start calling as soon as you're deployed, they'll give you the claims and you just schedule them out to the next day. So what I did was I picked, and eventually picked Indiana. I moved to Indiana because I was in the center of the country. I was actually doing some stuff in Canada, so I wanted to make sure that I could get to Canada too. And then I was close enough to go 12 hours to the coast on the south side, about 12 to 14 hours to the east coast, 16 hours to Florida. So it was just, I wanted to be there. I had no interest in going west, so I just picked Indiana, and it was a good fit for me for a period of time. I couldn't get to North Carolina because there wasn't work there at the time, so I couldn't make that my home base. But when I was looking for a home base, I called the firms and I said, where do you need adjusters? I was desperate. I was like, I'm going to break into this industry no matter what it takes. And so I called the firms up and said, where do you need adjusters? And unfortunately, one of them said, Baltimore. And I was like, Baltimore, okay. So we went to Baltimore. And we moved there. We rented a place for a year. And I handled daily claims in Baltimore and DC and Jersey and all these different, Delaware. It was not fun, but I was a blessing to that firm, and they saw me as loyal because I was willing to do anything, and it worked out well for me. It got me a year's worth of experience because I didn't have any, not on the property side at that point. Auto experience, but not property. And so I got an in. So then, after I was fed up with Baltimore, because I didn't stay there very long, but I said, you know what? I was freaking out because I was going to these places feeling like I was going to be killed every day because it was not a very pleasant place, some of the places I was going. So I said, where can you use somebody else? And so they actually told me Louisiana. And so it's crazy, but if you are willing to pack up and move anywhere where they tell you, you're going to find work. So if you're fighting to get that 3 years experience, hey, tell your wife, tell your girlfriend, tell your kids, we're going on a road trip for a couple of years, and we're going to start going wherever they need us. And if they happen to need us in New Mexico, well, guess what? I'm going to get a New Mexico license, and I'm going to live in New Mexico. Whatever. If you've got to get your 3 years experience, and you got everybody telling you that we won't hire you until you do, as soon as you tell them, I'm willing to go anywhere there's work, well, most of the people aren't willing to do that. So the opportunity will open up with you at one year experience to get work somewhere else. I formed loyalty with that firm because I did that. And then after I had a couple years experience, then I was able to say, you know, if anything opens up in North Carolina, where my family was from, I want that opportunity. So keep that in mind. Like, you may not get your first choice, but your goal is to get the experience so that you can get daily claims in your local area, and then have that freedom to go to a catastrophe if you want to. If you're a cat guy and you just want to be gone all the time, hey, enjoy it. More power to you. You'll always be working because there's always cats. And if you do a great job, they're going to keep hiring you. So that's really cool. All right. So have you worked for Everal? No, I have not worked for Everal. They sent me a message saying they're looking for someone in daily work in my area. There you go. Everal's a great company. So yeah, one of the biggest of, you know, there's like 5 big firms. So Everal's a great big firm. I just don't know the managers. I don't know how it works, but I haven't heard any complaints. So yeah, they're like another big one like Crawford or Alacrity. I mean, they're up there. They're big ones. So yeah, hey, never turn down work. Never turn down work. If you say no to them, they're going to remember that and they're not going to call you next time. So if you're getting calls to do work, always say yes. Figure it out with your family, figure it out with your kids at school, whatever you're going to do. Always say yes when you're a new adjuster trying to get started. It's, you know, they call you for a catastrophe and they say, can you come to Louisiana and work some oil spill claims? Well, I've never done it before, but yes, I'm there. You just go. I mean, you're going to learn. You're going to learn while you're there, and they're going to understand. They're going to have a trainer, a teacher, manager, somebody there to help you. So if you don't know how to do it, you're going to learn. So never turn down work. Let's see, Daniel, thanks for all the info you provide. This is the best YouTube channel out there for independent adjusters. Well, so cool. Actually, let's see, what is it? Adjuster TV is pretty good. I don't like his format, but he does have good information. He does a lot of interviews with people, so that's another good one too. So plug out there for Adjuster TV. He's actually pretty good. I just have a different style. You know, I could be sitting here with Joe sitting there, hey Joe, how you doing on the microphone? Yeah, I could do that too, but I don't know, it's just not my style. So my style is more put it out there, teach, train. I'm a good trainer, so I feel like, hey, you can learn better sometimes from somebody just breaking it down to the basics. So that's how I work. But thank you for the compliment very much. Very cool. I have a Texas license. Are there any state licenses I can pay for without testing? Yes, lots. Now, what you want to do, Guimar, is you can go to, I've got a video that talks about reciprocity, which is the magic word. It took me like 2 years to learn how to say the word. Kept saying it wrong. But no, reciprocity is when you have a mother license. I call it the mother license, but it's basically a home state license, something that's significant enough that they understand, hey, this is a hard license. If you can pass this test, then you deserve to have other licenses as well. And the states that don't have very specific licenses, like South Carolina says, nope, we don't reciprocity anybody. You got to take my license because we're stuck up. So, and New York's the same way. I mean, it's just, some of them are just like that. But there's a lot of states that say, yeah, we looked at the Texas license, we looked at the Indiana license, we looked at the Florida license. Those are all very hard tests, very similar. And if you come and apply for our license, we'll give you the license, just pay the fee. So yeah, that's called reciprocity, and I have a video that I think talks about all the licenses that are reciprocitied through those 3 mother licenses. So yeah, and there's a lot. And you can go on Adjuster Pro. They'll also talk to you about it too. And they'll have a little thing in there that says, like when you look up a license to take the test, it'll say this is a reciprocal license. And that just means that you can get that license just by applying it if you have, or applying for it, as long as you have the 3 big ones. So yeah, it's And that's what I did. At one point when I was working for State Farm, I had 23 licenses, and I think there's only 27. So, yeah, so, and I just applied for every one of them so I could be doing all these claims for State Farm. So, and then I got rid of them. I think I'm down to 13 now, where I keep all the coastals and the heavy hurricane, or heavy tornado, hail, and weather states, like cold weathers. Minnesota, we're a cold weather state, gets lots of claims. Oh, pardon me, got the hiccups. All right, so how long do I keep completed claims in your Xactimate cloud? Oh, I don't even know. I just send them to the cloud. It's an endless storage. If you want to download them and save them, great. I just send them to the cloud. So what I mean by that is on that main screen, you got all your claims listed. So when they come back as completed or closed, they'll show up red, closed. I just click them and then hit the cloud button, which has got an arrow pointing up for an upload, and I make them disappear. And they're out of my main working box. So pretty much my box on my main page is all my active claims or ones that I've just recently finished that may need some editing. But even then, I could send those to the cloud too if I wanted to. And then all I gotta do when somebody calls or sends me an email and says, hey, can you do a correction? They're gonna include the claim number. Well, then I just put that in the all claims in the cloud tab, and I can just download that file again. But it's a waste of time to get rid of it until it's really closed, because you know something's gonna come back or somebody's gonna edit something. So after a month or whatever, if I don't, and actually I've been surprised, I had one the other day. February, guys, we're in August. So February, I had to reopen a claim and they want me to go re-inspect it. And the re-inspection was just because the homeowner is mad as tar that their claim didn't get paid in full. So they put a loss date that was over 90 days, and it was a hail claim. And that carrier specifically said, we're only paying you ACV, actual cash value, for that claim, not the full replacement value, because the claim was reported late. So he waited 90 days from the day of the event and didn't file a claim. And this specific carrier has started to kind of tighten the reins and say, we're gonna only pay ACV. So he's mad as tar that he's not getting paid full claim, so he wanted me to come back out. He's screaming at the desk adjuster. The desk adjuster doesn't want to hear anything of it, and said, you know, well, I'll have Daniel come back out and look again. And so I wrote her back and I said, why am I going out here again? I've already inspected it and you have all the photos you need. I have 8 photos of the metal damage. There's no metal damage. I have 8 photos of the front metal damage. There's no metal damage. Why am I going out looking for metal damage again? Oh, we're just doing it as a courtesy for the insured. Okay, so those are the re-inspections I really dread, because now I'm driving out for no reason, 40 miles, not getting paid a thing, to go out and take 8 more photos of the back, 8 more photos of the front to prove there's no metal damage, so the desk adjuster can deny him again. He went out, he looked, there's no metal damage. So that's just part of some of the frustrating stuff that we come across, but that's just, hey, it is what it is. Yes, exactly. I think she was afraid to, you know, basically he's screaming and cussing and they just don't have enough to say. The policy says this, I'm sorry. As I said, the policy says this. As I've said, the policy says this. You say that about 6 times, I had to do it. When I was in State Farm, I just kept on repeating. The guy's cussing at me left and right. As I said, sir, there's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. The policy says this. And then he yells and cusses at you again. Sir, as I've said, the policy says this. And eventually, they get tired of hearing, as I've said. And they hang up. So, I can't hang up on them, but they eventually get tired and hang up themselves. So, yeah. So, sometimes the desk adjusters will just, you know, they don't want to deal with it. And they'll send it back out to us, and they don't have any understanding that it costs us money to go out and re-inspect. But they'll just send us on our way. I'm going to another one that's an hour and a half away on Monday. Re-inspection. It was already the denial the first time, going back out again. Like an hour and a half. Why am I going an hour and a half to look at the same stuff again? It's just, that's the frustrations. It's just part of the job. And you just burn it, you burn it and you just say, oh, well, what a bummer, and then turn on some music and enjoy the trip, take some food with you. Hey, I'm on a sightseeing tour today. So that's how I kind of treat them. All right, so I love Alacrity, great firm. Yes, Paul, I do too. Very good. Matthew says, Daniel, are you an actual employee of Alacrity or 1099? I am not an employee. No, I never want to be an employee of anybody. I have been self-employed, 1099 in my entire construction business, as an IA, always will be, never will be an employee. So I've been self-employed as a business owner for about 35 years. Personally, I have a video out there that explains that. I will never be an employee again, ever. I don't care if I fall off a roof and I'm quadriplegic, I'm gonna figure out some way to make a business on my own and be never an employee. There's just too many frustrations with being under the slave, I call it, or the oppression of a boss, or the oppression of somebody limiting how much money I can make, or when I can get time off, or if I have an emergency with my family, they give me the third degree and then hold it against me when it comes to be review time. It's like, what are you talking about? I was sick. I had to stay home. And now you're docking me in my thing because I took 2 extra days of sick time for the 8 that you gave me for the whole year. I mean, it's just hogwash. I don't like dealing with somebody that's, I call it micromanaging. When you're an employee, you're being micromanaged. And I don't like that. I like to be my own boss. I like to make my own decisions. I like to wake up when I want to. I like to go to bed when I want to. I don't like someone saying this. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. Now give me some broad guidelines and say, okay, what would make you happy? Okay, you want the file turned in on the same day? Awesome, I can do that. But it doesn't matter what time I turn it in. As long as it's 11:59, I can turn it in. It's in that same day. Now, if they call me up and complain and say, hey, we're seeing that you're always turning your files in at 11:59, do you think you could back it up and maybe get it in by 6 so the file reviewer has time to review it before a whole night goes by? That might be something they'll call me on and say, yeah, can you do this better? But they don't. So the day that I turn in a file at 11:59 because it was a fire claim that took me 8 hours to write, they understand, they got it in the same day. I wrote a fire claim, $253,000 estimate in 1 day, 8 hours. So that's the stuff that you just got to bend over backwards to prove to them you are exceptional and you're going to do the best job for them all the time. And then they're going to remember that and go, Daniel did that stupid fire claim in 1 day. Man, he's awesome. And then what they do, they send you more fire claims. Oh, no, don't send me any more fire claims. I'm going to stop doing them fast. So yeah, so it is what it is. All right, Julio, you're welcome. I'm glad to help. Glad you joined me as a new adjuster. So I always like new people coming in. I like the old guys too, so don't get your feelings all bent out of shape. So how long will I travel to serve a daily claim? Yeah, so typically I put in my, on the roster, each one you get on a roster, they're going to give you a portal that you can fill in all your information where you upload your documents or whatever. And most of the firms now are starting to put a mileage, like how far will you drive? What is the distance of the claim that you're willing to work? I put 100 miles. That's just me. Now, when I was first starting, I put, I think, 150 miles. So I was willing to drive like over 2 hours one way to a claim. Just because I was desperate. So that's one way. So that the roster normally means how far you're willing to drive one way. So I do 100 miles one way. So that's about a little over an hour. About an hour and a half is max. I don't want to drive more than an hour and a half. And so they'll call me. A lot of times will call me and say, yeah, I see this on your your portal says you want to drive 100 miles. This one's 130 miles. Are you willing to drive it? And I go, well, what are you going to pay me? That's my first thing comes out of my mouth is, what are you going to pay me to do that? And then, oh, well, this carrier doesn't pay mileage. I'm so sorry. We can't do anything for you. And I go, no, it's out of my range. I'm so sorry. But as a new adjuster, you're going to go, I'll be more than happy to do it. And I've heard guys in Texas, man, you drive a ton more than I do because things are so spread out. So you could be driving 2.5 hours to a very remote position out in the ranch somewhere that, you know, hey, you can have it. Oklahoma, all those, North Dakota, all these places, a lot of driving. People are driving long way to some of these claims. But if you live near a big city, you're going to get enough claims right there in the big city to keep you busy as a bee. So you don't, a lot of times you don't have to drive super far. Maybe when you're new, there might be a guy that's already doing all the downtown stuff and he's the more experienced guy. So he's getting priority and getting all the local claims that are all within 50 miles, and that's just paying your dues. But later on, you're going to be the guy that's experienced, and that guy's going to move on, retire, or get tired of working in the area, and he's going to move. He's going to retire in Florida, and then all of a sudden this wide open thing's going to happen up, and you're going to be the primary guy that's in the local area that gets everything under 50 miles. So it works. It's a rotating plan. I've seen some adjusters move out. I've seen adjusters change positions. They don't want to be an adjuster anymore. They're tired of it, and those positions open up. I got a guy. How I got the North Carolina position was there was a guy that was driving down from Virginia, and he had done it for years, driving 2 hours down, seeing 5 claims, and driving back to Virginia and writing them. And so that position in North Carolina was not available for me. It wasn't until I got a call from the firm that said, hey, the guy said he doesn't want to drive anymore. Do you want to still come to North Carolina? I'm like, absolutely, I'll be there tomorrow. And I packed up in Louisiana and we were gone. And I just shut down Louisiana and said, I'm leaving. I'll finish up the claims I got. Sorry, I'm moving to North Carolina. So, you know, and they understand. People move around all the time. So that's, or I have a sick family member and I'm moving to Michigan. Okay, do you have any claims in Michigan or whatever? If you tell them I can't handle these anymore, I got a sick family, it's up in Michigan, I'm moving to Michigan next week, they're going to find you a position. So just keep that in mind too. All right. A few years of adjuster road tripping netted you boatloads of money and experience. Yes, it sure did. It was the best thing that I could have ever done, is just basically be at their mercy, showing them that you're willing to do anything, anytime, any claim, any location, scary or not. Hey, you know what's one really good thing about being in a scary area? Is you see the claims at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 9 o'clock when they're all sleeping. And you just tell the people, hey, this is my schedule. I'm sorry, I see my claims at 7, 8, and 9. You want to see your claim? I don't do any afternoon appointments. I don't do anything. I don't do evening appointments. And all those people are sleeping. So that's how you can see some really scary places get those claims done while they're all sleeping. So that's how I handled Baltimore and DC. And I was doing some bank inspections for foreclosed homes. So the bank wants to have periodic inspections to check on their houses they own for these foreclosures. And these are squatter houses. I mean, these people will kick the doors down and they're living in these houses. These are scary houses. Scary houses. And you're got that baseball bat. You're walking up there, knocking on the door. Gas man, because you don't want them to shoot you. Whoever's in the house, I mean, they got something. So and then you're seeing some guy that's been living in this house, squatting in the corner of the house for whoever knows how long. And you just take pictures of it and send it on its way. So yeah, I did stuff that was just scary because I wanted to find the work, and I don't do them anymore because they didn't like them. So, alrighty. Just because the desk adjuster isn't firm enough, yeah, we talked about that. Sorry about that. Makes no sense to go back out just to get yelled at. Yeah, well, we don't have a choice. So you got to remember, as a field adjuster, we're kind of like down on the bottom of one step down from the bottom of the totem pole. Desk adjuster gets the position of saying, hey, I'm the authority of the claim, and field adjuster, you are my servant. Now, that's not really how it works, but that's how they think it works. So when they tell us, do this, it's a lot of times an IA operating as a desk adjuster. And that's just what they're told by their managers or how you handle this stuff. So we don't really get to complain. Now I get to question it sometimes, like not give them a hard time, but just say, can you clarify why I'm going out? This is 40 miles from my house. Is there anything that we could do to potentially, oh yeah, so here's one that I actually did question somebody the other day. I went out to the house, did an inspection on this guy's house. It was a hail claim, and did the full inspection. But he said he had a water leak inside the house. So I said, okay, well, I need to get access to the house. He goes, we just got diagnosed with COVID. And I said, great. Okay, so now I'm not going in the house. So yeah, what I'll do is, could you send me the photos? He's one spot, one water spot, okay, on a bedroom or a bathroom ceiling. And I said, can you send me the photos? Take an overview of the whole room, take a medium shot and take a close-up and send me those photos. And I'll turn those into the desk adjuster with your file and see if I can get you paid for a patch on that ceiling and some ceiling paint. And I said, give me an estimated size of the room. So he told me it's like 9 by 12 in the bathroom. Okay, so I drew a little 9 by 12. I documented it in my file, said, insured measured the room for us. Here's the 3 photos they gave us. Looks like a water spot. I proved it on the roof that it was the vent that was leaking. I mean, I did everything to appease, hopefully handling this claim without me having to go back out. Yesterday, got an email, reinspection. I'm like, what in the world for? So I called the desk adjuster and I said, I did this one already, and we sent in the photos, the insured sent photos for the water damage. They said, we can't accept those. I said, okay, and so you want me to go out and take the same 3 photos for the water damage inside the house? She said yes, and measure the room and add that to your report. Okay. What else are you gonna say? I'm like, okay. So I called the insured. I go, hey, sir. I said, remember me? And he goes, yeah. He said, we're better. We don't, it's been several weeks since we had COVID. We're all better. We tested, don't have positives. He said, they wouldn't accept your photos, like my photos that you turned in. He said, they want you to come back out. And I said, yeah, I got the news. So those are crazy, but that's just, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, State Farm is using an app to take photos of all your car damage stuff and send it in without an adjuster seeing your car. Why in the world would they not accept 3 photos and a little water spot that has the same repair line, whether it's this big or 4 square feet, 2 by 2? It's the same price point when I do a repair on Xactimate, and they wouldn't accept it. So anything from a hole this big to 2 foot by 2 foot, which is 4 square feet patch line item, drywall patch on an Xactimate is up to 4 square feet of a repair. So I can handle any water spot pretty much in the house, unless it runs down a line and damages a whole bunch of drywall, but pretty much any hole that is a water spot is the exact same line. So that's why my macros have a patch macro. It's like 7 lines, done. Just put it in, patch. Every time you got a patch, boom, put the macro in, and boom, you got your repair done in 5 seconds. So, but she wouldn't accept it, so I gotta go back out. So luckily this one is close by, but it doesn't always work that way. But driving out to re-inspect something is crazy. So yeah, lots of questions about commercial claims. Okay, so have I ever adjusted commercial claims? Yeah. So commercial claims handle very differently, and I stopped handling them because I didn't like them. I really like the mentality of getting a claim done the same day and then never seeing that claim unless there's a supplement, which most of the time there isn't. So generally I like handling claims where I'm done and finished and I never have to worry about it. Commercial's not that way. So commercial, Xactimate does not handle commercial claims very well. Does not have the extensity of all the line items that are for commercial. So what they do is typically we have to wait for bids to come in from the contractors. So for instance, I had one where windstorm came in, tore off the flat roof. They had tons of inside damages, all the commercial drywall, commercial air conditioner got damaged. There was some framing damage on the roof for the truss system. And none of that stuff's in Xactimate. I mean, maybe the flat membrane roof is, the stretch membrane we could use. But typically, you know, if I turn that in, they're going to say it's an incomplete estimate. We got to get all these other bids. So, talk to the contractor of the building and said, hey, do you think you can get me a bid for the drywall repair? Sure. Can you get me a bid to replace this truss? Yes. Can you get me a bid to do the roof? Call your roofer guy, whatever, get a bid. So yeah, so what happens is a week later, I have no bids. I've still got this stupid claim in my thing, and I still can't do anything with it because I'm waiting on the bids. And the same thing goes, until you get all those bids, then you put it in, bid item, and you put in the total, you've scanned and copied it, you put all the pertinent information, you write a report showing all the contractors involved in writing this bid, and you turn it in. And then if it comes back, and you know, 99% of the time it seems like the bids are off, supplements have to be added in, and then they want us to touch it again. It's like, can you go out and find out why there was a discrepancy with the bid, you know, and you know, they're saying there's more damage or whatever. So you spend just so much time reevaluating these commercial claims. I don't like that. I don't like holding claims for a month. You know, I had the same thing with a fire station that got damaged when it flooded. You know, I had a pipe burst in the wintertime. Tons of stuff, the commercial fire alarm system, the radio system for the fire department, the drywall, the water heater ended up, you know, doing something frozen, cracked and stuff like that. So it's all commercial water heater stuff. The flooring was commercial VCT. So all these different trades, and it took forever to get those bids in because people are not in a rush. You know, you call a contractor, he goes, yeah, I'm kind of busy right now. Well, I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks with a bid. I'm like, no, I need this like this week. That ain't gonna happen. So you might have a contractor who said, yeah, I'm excited, I can get to work. You know, I'll pop it back to you in a few days here and we'll be done. And then you got another guy who says, I'm so busy, I can't get you an estimate for a while. But you still gotta hold this claim. And then you're constantly having to put in status reports, letting people know, you know, this is the status of the claim, waiting on this bid. I called him, I followed up with him, he said it's gonna be next week. So I'm having to do all this touchy-feely back and forth with this commercial claim that is just a waste of time to me, but it has to be done in order to keep everybody in the loop with how the process of getting that estimate is going. So I just don't like that. So yeah, and they don't pay tremendously, because a lot of it is time and expense. So I'm documenting, I'm constantly updating my time and expense log, called this person, sent this person this email, and I put a line item for every single thing I touch. And I looked at some of the price points after I'd done all that work, and said, I'm just not making any money on this thing from all the time that I had to put into it. I'd rather just have a bunch of daily claims where I can just bang, 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 and I get done and finished, never touch these claims again. So I chose to go with the daily claim route. And the same thing is with CAT work, because they don't make you do all the supplements. They don't make you retouch these claims. A lot of times you're out of the area by the time the supplement comes in, so they don't make you go back and re-inspect because you're out of the area. You already left the CAT. So they're just great. And the file reviewers are really like lenient when it comes to a CAT adjuster. They just want to check to go out in the person's hand to worry about the supplements later. So CAT works great. Daily claims are great. They're picky with daily, so you got to be really on top notch when you're writing your estimates for daily, because they do watch, you know, your estimates have to be really good. So so I hear commercial claims are the way to go, but they are killing with time. Good. Do you think it's better to focus on just residential or do both? No, I don't even work commercial claims. So they ask me and I go, no, I'm not handling it. What are you gonna say? I'm an independent contractor. I get to tell them what I'm gonna do and what I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna drive 200 miles to a claim. I'm not going to handle this carrier. I don't like their work. I am not gonna do this for free, you know, whatever. And I'm not gonna handle commercial claims. So that's it. I had another carrier just call me the other day. I'm set up to handle their claims, but they wanted me to go to Wilmington. That's 2.5 hours to do a commercial claim. I'm like, no, it's out of my area. I'm not going to Wilmington for anything else now. If they've given me 3 of them and said, can you do all these 3? We had an event happen down there, whatever. I might drive to Wilmington and spend the weekend there with my family and handle 3 claims that paid pretty decent. Might, but again, it all depends on what it was. So yeah, if it's I went to South Carolina on a catastrophe. They were only bringing me in. There was only me because I was out of the area. They were getting swamped. It was like 3 hours away from me, but they gave me 20 claims. So for me to go on a mini cat is what I call those, just out of my area, but it was designated a cat, so I got paid cat pay, and it was lots of damage. For me to handle 20 claims was very lucrative. So I'll do that any day of the week. If they want me to go to Virginia or whatever, 3 hours or 4 hours away, spend the weekend, spend 3 days there and inspect 15 or 20 claims as fast as I can get them done, and then come home and write them, or stay there and write them, stay for a week or whatever. That's very beneficial to do something like that. But if you're going for one claim and driving 3 hours, it isn't going to pay for your expenses, so it's just not worth it. Yes, it is tedious. On average, how many claims do you close in a day? If they would give them to me, Guimar, I would do 4 every day, 6 days a week. If I could get 4. 4 to me is a perfect number of busy, making really good money, but not killing me. 5 is what I run for a catastrophe, and that's killing me. That's hard work. So 4 in daily claims normally means you're going to get one of those is super easy, little water claim, little patch on the ceiling, a couple wind damage shingles, no big deal. But if it's a catastrophe event locally in daily claims, 4 is busy, 5 is crazy. So that's what I do. I make really, really good money if I can close 4 claims a day. 3 claims a day is pretty good too, but 4 claims a day, 6 days a week, that's a killer week. I mean, I don't like talking money too many times, but I just got a $9,000 check from one firm, so for 1 week. So that's well, actually no, that was 2 weeks. I'm sorry, that's 2 weeks. But that's a really good paycheck. That's only one firm, and then I got another one that will give me maybe 4,000. So 13,000 for 2 weeks worth of work. That's pretty incredible. That doesn't happen all the time. So it's just based on when you're really busy. In the summer, you're busy. You can get a lot of claims in. Now you remember you take taxes and expenses and all that stuff out of that too. That's your gross. So don't get all when you're a 1099. That's not what you're making. Okay, that's just your 60% cut that you're getting from the firm. Okay, so they bill 100% to the insurance company. They keep 40, and then they pay you 60%. So that's my 60%. But then I got to pay taxes. Then I got to pay all my expenses, all my gas, licenses, equipment, whatever. All those things that come out of that. But it's still really good money. So if I could pick a number that I would do year round, I would say between 3 and 4. That's 18 to 24 claims a week for me because I work 6 days a week. That's a very doable everyday life for me. I could do 3 claims a day every day for the rest of my life, except Sunday. I don't work Sunday. And then an occasional 4, even if I got 4 a couple days a week or something like that. So I could get 20 claims or, so 3 claims a day is 18. So if I could get 20 claims to 22 claims a week, I could do that for the rest of my life. Even as an old guy, I'm 55, not old, but I could do this schedule for a very long time because some of those claims are really quickies. Some of them are no claim, meaning they're denials. Had one the other day, water heater broke 4 months ago. She did nothing about it. Day of loss was 4 months ago. We're going in, all the water is still sitting in the bathroom where the original water spilled from the water heater. She never cleaned it up. So I got mold. The whole bathroom's moldy. Okay? Total mold on the walls, 4 feet up, some on the ceiling. All the floors are rotted. All the edges are all moldy, and all the floorings peeling back. That's a denial. She delayed the claim, she delayed the cleanup, and now wants the insurance company to pay for it. Now, obviously, it's because she didn't have any money to fix it. So she just closed the door and called it done. No, those are denials. So I spend the time, take lots of photos. It did still take me time to write the report. So I still had, 20 to 30 minutes of inspection, because you gotta remember, you're not shutting them down, even though there's no coverage, and you know that. You still got to give them the belief that you've done a full inspection of the house and you're caring for their needs. And you're pouring out empathy, and you're saying, man, I'm sorry about the water that's in your house. This is terrible. This is a bad situation. You really shouldn't be living here. Well, I closed the door. Well, it's still not really healthy for you to be here with this kind of mold. I'm sorry, but you probably should have called somebody. Is there someone you can stay with while this gets, and you're showing that empathy and care as if there is coverage. But deep down, you really know, I think this is probably going to get denied, because when I write my estimate, I'm not going to write an estimate, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, based on the findings, it appears this has been a long-term problem that has made the damage much worse than it could have been if reported when it happened or mitigated when it first happened. And so I will then put a note in and say, upon coverage determination, I will write an estimate if necessary. So I totally get myself out of writing an estimate on that claim, because now I'm putting the onus on the desk adjuster to prove coverage before I write the estimate. So I'm not really wasting my time to write an estimate. Now, if it comes back later and I gotta write an estimate, well, so be it. That's gonna be their choice to say, hey, we want you to write an estimate anyways. Most of the time though, they don't. So it saves me being able to have, not have to write an estimate. So some of those daily claims are quickies. Some of them I get on and they're roof claims, and they got a leak in their bathroom, and I go up and there's a crack in the boot, the rubber boot, around the pipe that goes into the bathroom, and there's no other damage on the roof. There's no wind damage on the roof, there's just a crack in the boot. And then I go into the bathroom, I take my 3 little photos for the ceiling damage, I go on the roof, I take my 3 or 4, I'll take my 3 fronts, I'll go left, middle, right. As far as if I was doing a whole front slope, I just do 3 photos, the left side, the middle, and the right. And if there happens to be like a gable in the front, then I might do a photo. So that's only 5 photos just on the front. And then I go around to the back, and most of the time there's no gable in the back, so I'm just doing my 3 photos for the back, and then I do a close-up of the damage to the vent pipe. And then I do another close-up to the vent pipe, really, really close. I might put a tape measure beside it to show even the size of the crack. And that's it. So I got 10, 12, 15 photos that I got to label on the roof, and I got 3 or 4 on the inside. So I got no more than 25 photos probably in that whole claim. And I'm using my macro and doing the quickie little sheetrock fix for the inside. I can write that whole claim in an hour or less, 45 minutes. And so that's what I'm saying. So some of those daily claims, even though I'm doing 4, some of them are very fast inspections, 15 minutes tops on an interior claim, if it's not major damage. If it's a roof claim, 20, 25 minutes tops to do a perimeter and jump on the roof and say, that's it. I'm in and out of that claim in 20, 25 minutes. If it's a big roof, then it's probably a 30 to 40 minute. But yeah, so you can get these inspections done really quick. And I'm home by 11:30 after seeing 3 or 4 of these claims, because I start at 8, so I got one at 8. If it's a close by one, which I try and group them, then I'm seeing the next one at 8:30. If it's an easy claim for an 8 o'clock. I'll see the next one at 8:30. Next one might be 9:30, where I got a little bit of drive time between them. Next one's 10:30. I got 4 claims done, and I'm done by 11 o'clock. I'm home by 11:30. And then I write these claims, and by 6 o'clock, after I've answered emails and done all the rest of the stuff, I'm done. So my day for 4 claims is start at 8 and finish by 6. But I'm making great money, unlike an hourly wage, where, if I got an hourly job, lucky if I can make $15 to $20 an hour. I'm just not, I make that on 1 claim. So why would I want to work 8 hours and make $160 or $200 when I can make that in 1 claim? So even if it's a no claim, it's still, $240, $250 for that claim. So you still can make really good money. So you do 4 of those, you're making $800 to $1,000, like before taxes, but per day. So yeah, if you can get something where you're in a busy area, like I talked to some guys, I think I'll need some of these lives that say, I live in Texas and I can get 5 claims a day every day of the week if I want. Yeah, you sure can, because there's a lot of people that live there and it's very congregated and they get hail events all the time. And there's, tons of damage that's 1 month old. They're still handling those claims, even though the next storm already came in through. So yeah, those guys, man, Texas is awesome. You get tons of work. Indiana's the same way, just nonstop events that occur over and over and over again for hail. So it keeps you busy as a bee. All right, a log cabin style house. No, Matthew, I have not. I did, but it was a water claim inside. So so all we were doing is, it was a log cabin, but it didn't have any damage to the exterior of the log cabin. And if it did, a lot of times it would just be stained and finish the walls if there was some damage, because they'll sand it down, they'll restain it and finish it, and that's all they do for the log cabin. But this one was a water claim for the floor, so I was dealing with the laminate floor that they had on the dishwasher leaked or something like that. So yeah, log cabin. But on the outside, I don't typically see any damage unless a tree fell on the house, and even then you're only dealing just with the roof system probably, because most of the time the walls won't get damaged much. And if you got scratches, just stain finish, whatever. I mean, to tell you the truth, the estimating of these repairs is not as accurate as I would like it to be, but it's really difficult for us to know what exactly, how are you going to fix the log cabin side if it got scratched. So yes, I'm putting a line item and it says stain and seal exterior siding, which is not siding, it's wood. It's, so the line item doesn't fit it, and that's what we'll do to fix it. But that contractor is not coming in and going, a little bit of stain, a little bit of, urethane on the outside. That's not going to be the fix. He may have to sand, he may have to fill, he do a bunch, but he's going to submit a bill, a supplement. So we just put the closest thing that Xactimate does as best as we can to get that estimate correct. But on a very specialty item like that, they're going to come back and throw a supplement at us and say, that actually cost me $500 to fix that instead of the $250 that you have in for line items. And that's okay. Yeah, the desk adjuster will know that when it comes in and says, yeah, that wasn't too far off the estimate, so we'll go ahead and pay it. They know it was a specialty item. So that's how that stuff works. The special stuff is pretty strange. Yeah, $250 per claim. Yeah, and it just depends. I mean, if I get into a roof that's hail damaged, we're in a different fee schedule at that point, meaning number one, if it was declared a catastrophe, I have a carrier that reminds it or sends us new updates, because they're constantly trying to get more pay from the carrier. So if they can somehow convince the carrier that hey, we got a lot of claims in this area from this event, then the carrier will claim it as a catastrophe event, even though they didn't bring in all the guys like from out of town to do it. They'll call it a catastrophe event. Happens all the time. It's kind of cool. So what they do is the firms are constantly trying to get those things turned into catastrophe events, because now we can pay off the catastrophe fee schedule, which is different than the daily fee schedule. So I like the firms because they do look out to try and get us more money, because remember, they're making 40%, so they're greedy too. They're not greedy. They have a vested interest too. They're trying to make more money too. So kind of see it as, they got your back too, where they're trying to make as much money as they can and get these things turned into a catastrophe event so we get paid more. So if I go to a catastrophe hail event, local, as a daily guy, I get to bill off that catastrophe fee schedule, and if it's a roof that's $10 or $12 or $14,000 in damage, that turns into a very tasty little claim and on a catastrophe fee schedule, because they do raise the prices quite a bit. So yeah, at $250 is just the beginning, because then it could be $800 or $900 I make on that claim for a catastrophe type event. So those are cool. So do I work every day or just Monday to Friday? I work Monday through Saturday, unless I just don't have the volume and I just take the day off. So, and that doesn't happen very often. So, and a lot of times, because it is, as a daily guy, they are giving you such a broad area. So again, An hour and a half is kind of my radius. So at some point in time, which happens every week, I get a claim that's the outskirts. I get one that's out there that's an hour and a half. And then somehow during that same 3 or 4 days of scheduling, I got one over here that's an hour away. So I'm not going to do the hour to the hour and a half on the same day. That's because that's 2.5 hours apart. So inevitably, I have to put that on a separate day. So that one gets put on a separate day. This one I group with 2 others or 3 others in the area, but this one gets all a day by itself. And then hopefully I'll get assigned some claims in that area where I can group up and get a couple more that day. But sometimes I don't. Like I go to Virginia, right on the border of Virginia, this Anderson. It's a crazy drive. It's a long way for me. So, but I never get another claim in the same area. So I'm always making that trip. Literally, that's the only claim I'm handling. And then I'm trying to get some that are kind of on the way. So it's kind of a bummer. So what could have been a day off for me, I end up having one claim that's out in the middle of nowhere. So that's how my days off kind of work, is that yes, it might be a lighter day. Like I try to schedule my Saturdays with only 2 claims, but last week I had 4 claims on Saturday because they all just came in and they were all really close to each other. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to group them all and get them all knocked out because they're really close. They were all just like street apart. So I ended up saying, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and knock them all out because they're right in the same subdivision. So I scheduled 4. But I don't like to do that many on Saturday because then that means the file review that comes in will come in on Sunday. And they'll call, you know, they'll be writing in and saying, hey, can you get these couple corrections done? And that makes me have to work Sunday. So I try to make Saturdays light just for that. But generally, my only days off are going to be from when we start into November. When we get around Thanksgiving, things start to slow down unless we've had a catastrophe like a hurricane that came locally or I was deployed. November is kind of like the start. As we get towards Thanksgiving, everything kind of slows down. Everybody's getting ready for, you know, kind of like after Halloween, and then it kind of moves into the holiday. Everybody kind of gets these holidays in their mind, and so they don't open up as many claims. So November is kind of slow. December is really slow. And what I mean by that is I might get 10 claims a week. So that's the time where I get my Christmas shopping done and, and do some of the maintenance things that need to be done on the house or whatever. And, I don't fret because I made really good money in the summer, and I put money aside. So I'm preparing for the slow times in the winter, knowing they're coming. They always come. And then maybe if we get a really cold winter here in North Carolina, we might have some freeze claims that occur in January. Been very busy in January before when that happened, where weather really changes. We'll get a really super hard freeze, and then it'll warm right back up to like 40 as a high, and that's enough to thaw whatever froze. So if you had a 20s, a really cold night, froze everybody's outside spigots, and then when it thaws, when it hits 40, then all that floods the house. So we get a lot of freeze claims. That's where we call those freeze claims. They bring a lot of water damage to houses. Pipes under the house do that. They burst all the time. In the wintertime, people forget to close their vents in their crawl spaces, so it makes it really cold in the crawl space, and then the pipes will burst. So, and those are easy. We don't get a whole lot of damage from that because the pipe may be damaged, a little bit of the insulation on the underside of where it broke, but it floods the crawl space. We don't really do much. I might change some plastic, if it messed up the plastic, disintegrated the plastic or whatever. But generally speaking, there's not a whole lot of coverage up underneath the house except for insulation. All the wood's going to dry. The remediation company is going to come in and dry it all out. That's not part of our job. So that's a really easy claim to write. So those are ones that happen, but they're easy claims. So just kind of take the good with the bad. All right. Mostly for Glatfelter. I work for them, Glatfelter and Western World. Through an agency from Leading Edge and Parker Loss. Yeah, I work for, the fire station was a Glatfelter claim. So yeah, I worked for them when I was up in Baltimore, and they pay really well. They're a great little insurance company to work for. They do pay really well. So, do you ever use the underlay image option in Xactimate for your sketches. I also believe you can download sketches from random things, staircases, etc. from Xactimate. Yeah, so I use the underlay quite a bit when it wouldn't import and I was getting the sketch from the roofer. So either working for a carrier that doesn't provide the roof report, and then the roofer's already got the roof report, I'll have them send it to me. So then I just do a screenshot of the roof, just so I don't have to keep going back and forth on the looking at the photo, going to the Xactimate. And what I'll do is I'll take a screenshot, put an image overlay, and drop it in on my roof sketch so that it's right beside where I'm trying to sketch. And then I'll sketch over top or whatever. I typically, what I don't like about, I wish it would make the overlay transparent. To me, if I could see what I'm covering when I'm using that tool, it would be a whole lot better. So that's a great recommendation for Xactimate if they're listening. Is if they could make it a transparent, because otherwise when I draw that roof, it blocks out everything. And so I'm like, well, where's that gable that was under there? I just covered it up. Or where's the dormer? As soon as I put the main roof on, then I cover up everything that that is there. So I use the image overlay sometimes when it's a really difficult roof and I'm trying to draw it. Most of the time when I've ever used it, I use it so that I can keep all the measurements right beside me, so I'm not having to jump back and forth from the PDF to it. I mean, you can solve that also if you have two screens. You can leave the PDF up over there or whatever, but most of the time I'm only using one. So that's how I use the image overlay. But it is a cool tool if you have a really difficult roof and you don't know how to draw it, to try to draw over top of it. So it's kind of cool, very cool. Do I ever use ladder assist for something you can't climb? And how does billing work? Do you have to come out of pocket to use ladder assist? So good question, R.R. Rod. I think you told me your name one time, I can't remember. But yeah, so I won't buy roof reports at all. I do my best to not put that expense out. To me, that is a total ripoff for an IA to have to spend for the insurance company. I think that's just wrong. So what I'll do is I just get really good at drawing, measuring and drawing, make sure that I, can draw every roof and measure every roof appropriately. And as far as ladder assist goes, I pull them on the roofs where it's going to take 2-story, meaning bigger than my extension ladder that I have. So I have a 24, and some of these townhomes get into, some of them are 28. So I'm basically putting my ladder up and having to get off at the top of the ladder. I just won't do that. So what I'll do is I'll call in ladder assist, and what I do is most of the carriers will send you their approved or not approved what they allow with ladder assist, meaning you have to call for approval before you use them, or you are free to use them and pay out of pocket and add it to your invoice, or some of the carriers now have allowed us to use the desk adjuster as the billing person. So that's what I have for one of my carriers. So when I order it, I only use it sparingly, and that's going to be those ones that are either 3-story tall, or just really, something I do not want to climb. Like I had one the other day. It was last week. No, the week before last. This was just an odd roof to climb. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the look of it. It was a 13-12 on both sides, and the access was just really difficult. And so I called in ladder assist. So I called the carrier. I said, I'm ordering ladder assist. I put the desk adjuster on it, and they said that you're free to do that. You have the freedom to use it. We want you to be safe. So I love a company that's willing to say, we'll pay for that. And I use Hancock, because they actually will allow me to specify who I'm billing. And that's when I put in the desk adjuster's name, their extension number, blah, 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 and that's who they send. Even though I'm the contact person, they allow us to specify. I'm an independent, so I'm not being billed. So, and then they ask you, who are you billing? And then I put in desk adjuster or carrier. And then I put their contact information in. So it's great. So, but all the time when I use the ladder assist, I'm going to be on site I'll hand them my camera. So I have a link in the bio for my camera, my Sony Cybershot that I use. I put it on a lanyard around my neck. I hand that camera to the ladder assist guy and say, take all my photos for me, please. Because I don't want to have to deal with how he's going to get me the files off his cell phone or in his report with tiny little photos that don't work well, or getting all those files emailed to me. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to give him my camera. I say, you can take your pictures with your camera too, but I want you to take pictures with my camera. Now they do a crummy job, but I just write a detailed explanation in my report saying roof was unsafe for me to climb. Ladder assist climbed the roof and took photos. And as long as you say it was too difficult for me to climb, it was unsafe for me to climb, what are they going to do? I have never had a firm come back and go, you should have climbed that roof even though it was difficult. Even though it was unsafe for you, you should have done it. No, they don't do that. If I want to say it's too unsafe for me, then that's just my doing and tough luck. That's what I chose. Now, I put in all the fancy wording like, which normally is the case, but normally it says it's over, it's super steep, potential granule loss, unsafe, access points were difficult, whatever the magic buzzwords you want to use. I put those in because that's, and I'm not obviously going to make it up, but those are the ones that I'm putting in that I determined at the time that made me the decision, or made me have the decision to not climb that roof. And I know this happens a lot more up north because in New York and Baltimore, a lot of these, they have these 3-story townhomes. It's very common to need a 3-story ladder. And then when you get up there, there are 12 coming off the ladder. It's like, who's going to climb that? I'm not climbing it. I mean, I'm not going to throw a 300 or 400 foot rope over the house just so I can get up and take those photos. No, I'm going to call ladders. That's what these guys are getting paid for. They're crazy people. They're willing to climb up on anything, like churches that are 4 stories in the air and, whatever. I'm not climbing that. So, yeah, so that's when I use them. So yeah, I will do everything I can to not have to pay. And if they won't pay it, then I have to call into the desk adjuster and say, I need you to purchase or give authority in the file, in the notes, that I can order this. And if it comes down to that, where I'm not going to get on the roof and they're not going to pay, then I have to get them to put in a note that says they will reimburse me for the expense that I pay. So then I go ahead and buy it, and $75 to $100, sometimes more, for these, and some of them are really pricey, $225. But I'm going to make sure that I have a file note in the file that's going to get me reimbursed for it, and then I'm going to bill that on my invoice. And what's really good is that you can put that in, put the price in, and you're going to get reimbursed for that because that file note said they would pay for it. But if that file note's out there and you bill for it, guess what? That insurance company's going to turn right around and say, we didn't authorize this, and you won't get reimbursed for it. So it's a total waste of money. So that's why you want to be really, really careful. Make sure you get the file note that says we're authorizing this purchase. So, how do you rate for one damaged shingle on a hip cap if that hip runs into another cap? I just do the linear footage of the ridge shingles. So you just write it in the ridge cap shingle line item and put 2 feet. You don't know how it's going to overlap and how many shingles are going to use. But here's the thing. When you write an estimate for that small, it's going to do a labor minimum anyways. It's going to round up. Xactimate rounds up. If I put 2 shingles in, it's going to round to the nearest third square, which is basically per bundle. So if I put in, 3 shingles or 3 feet of ridge, it's going to round up to a third of a bundle, or a third of a square, or 1 bundle of shingles. So it's pretty easy. And then it's going to force a labor minimum, which is going to cover that. So it's going to give a $300 or $400 charge for that roof repair. So it's easily coverable. So that's an easy fix. Speaking of roofs, do you physically measure each gutter and downspout, or you just estimate the lengths? No, so what I did, and these are the same things like I did back, and it was a good question, Matthew. What I did back, remember I told you guys in the last live that you start to memorize these measurements that are very consistent, or the very similar measurements, like the bathroom tubs are always 4'11". Cabinet sizes are certain sizes. This is the same way that gutters work. So when you walk up to a house, not gutters, downspouts. So that's the only one that would be variable. You can get all the measurements for your gutters off of the Eagle View, or you can count shingles if it's a 3-tab. Otherwise, I measure it. I actually measure it because I'm going to have to measure the shingles of a laminate. So if you've got an eave and then it jots out and goes to a gable, you're going to have to measure that eave length while you're on the roof if it's a 30-year laminate, because there's no shingles to count. You can't count it. So you've got to put your tape measure in that gutter and pull it out and measure how far that is, because if you're going to draw it, you have to know the exact length. Well, by doing that, you already have a gutter length. It literally is the exact same measurement, because if I measure the shingles, then I'm just stepping it one step over in order to do the gutter length. So that's going to get you your measurement. As far as downspouts go, I've pretty much figured out that if you can look at the house, and maybe you walked in, most of the houses are 9-foot ceilings downstairs and 8-foot upstairs. Okay, so that's 17 if you add those together, and I add a foot, that's 18. So pretty much if I see a 9-foot ceiling in a downstairs, then I automatically make those gutter downspouts, especially if they're just coming down and dumping onto the floor at that point. My magic number is 18. Now, you also have to take consideration if you're doing the spouts or the gooseneck that's at the top, and then you're just going to add in a couple feet. So I might just go 20. Add that in, or 22 or whatever. So those numbers are variable. So as I get around to a 3-story, and then I'm going to take my laser measure with me. I got that in a link in the bio as well. The Leica, it has a laser measure. I'm just standing at the corner of the house. I'll put it on the gutter. I'll shoot it to the soffit. I'll put the plus sign, turn it upside down, shoot to the ground. 19 feet, whatever, or round up to 20, whatever it happens to be. That's how I get those back when you're on a slope, and you don't have a clue what that downspout length is. Then I just shoot my laser. So a lot of times what I'll do when I walk up to the house is I don't put my whole tool bag on. If there's inside damage, I take my laser measure with me. Might take my moisture meter, depending on the carrier I'm using. Just put those in my pocket. Don't want to take the whole tool bag in the house. So the same thing goes when I do a perimeter inspection for hail, is I take my laser measure and put it in my pocket, because I might have to measure the length of the house for siding. So if I've got siding damage for hail, then I'm gonna have to do some elevation measurements. So I'm gonna need that tape measure to measure those elevations to get the accurate measurement for siding. So I just, rule of thumb, if it's a hail claim, I always pop that laser measure in my pocket when I'm walking around the house. And that way I can measure the downspouts, measure the siding, measure window sizes maybe, but they're standard too. So, that's very common measurement. You'll actually look at those windows and go, yep, I know what size that window is. You'll start to learn those measurements are very standard. So when you have to do an elevation measurement and you have to deduct the window sizes, you already know that's a 2.4, 4.11. I already know what that is. So you start to pick out these numbers that are very common. You know that the bathroom square block windows are 4x4. And you know that the little, small windows are 1x4. So you start to see these things in bathrooms. They're common measurements, so you don't have to pull your tape measure out for them. You just start to remember those. So that's kind of what I do with the gutters and downspouts. But I'm already measuring the roof at that point, or I have an Eagle View, which already has the measurements for the eaves as well. So then that's how you get your gutter measurements. You just have to look on your photos and say, okay, on that roof, where did the gutter stop? They're doing a little kick out and it doesn't go across here, or whatever. So then on your Eagle View, you just get those measurements, add them together, and pop it in your estimate. And it never fails just to round up a foot, just to make sure that you're getting them the coverage. And if it's a really big discrepancy, then whoever's doing the replacement's going to give them a supplement anyways. So, and if it's within 10%, the desk adjuster's going to pay it. So that's kind of, our job is to get as close as we can based on what we're looking at, but I'm not going to spend hours making sure that I'm within the inch of measurements. I'm just going to round up to the next one, next foot. to make sure that I got enough coverage there. I don't want to short them. So that's the thing. Typically, what I try to do is be the slightest bit generous on things like that, and it's never hurt. It's never a bad thing. I mean, there's some people who are very legalistic and they say, "Oh yeah, you're overpaying them." Well, I'm like, do you realize that that's about $4 that I might be shortchanging them on the primer or the paint or something like that on the inside, which is because it's not super accurate with the estimating software. So, you know, give or take, I'm sure we're probably pretty close, within $10 on that estimate. So, and again, it's an estimate. Estimates are never to the dollar. They're never absolutes. You do an estimate, I do an estimate, we're gonna have two different numbers, guaranteed. 100% guaranteed we're gonna have two different numbers, but we're gonna be close. I could take 100 people that do 100 estimates on that same house, and we're all gonna be pretty close, but we're not gonna be exact. It's not gonna be like playing the lottery where you have to have the exact number. It's not gonna work. There will not be one estimate that's exactly the same. It will not be. And there'll be pennies off, or nickels off, or dollars off. So just kind of keep that mentality in mind so that when you write an estimate, you're not freaking out over being so accurate that, you know, when I pull my tape measure and it says 6'2" and 5/8, you know, that I'm not rounding up to 6'3". I mean, you don't have to be that accurate, because the dollar difference between painting something so minuscule in difference is $1 or $2 more in paint, and or $1 or $2 less in paint. And like I said, if they come in and the painter charges them $50 more than your estimate, you're not talking $1 or $2 difference. You're talking about $50 difference at that point. The insurance company's still going to pay it. That's what it costs to do it. So they're going to take that estimate of that painter that charged $50 more than your estimate, and they're going to pay it. They're not going to think one bit about it. That's what it costs to fix it. We're going to pay that. So that's how I kind of see our estimating. And the same thing goes for your roofing. If the roofer comes in and says, you know, we bought all the materials and you were a third, you know, a bundle off on your measurements, and this is what it costs, the insurance company is going to pay it. They're not going to balk at it. They're not going to argue with it. They're not going to come back to me and say, Daniel, your estimate was off one bundle. How could that be? No, it's just, you know, Eagle View is off all the time. Eagle View says it's a 12 when it's a 1312. All the time. I have verified it with photos. And they've been wrong and wrong and wrong more than once. And the insurance company takes the Eagle View like it's God and says, yep, that's it. And I go, no, it's not. It was a 13 and we're missing some shingles. And they go, please change your estimate back to what Eagle View says. I'm like, whatever. So a lot of stuff like that happens. So you just take it what it is. There's Ringo. Hey, dude. Ah, you're always late. Man, you were late last time too. Shame. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so how can you tell if a gutter is pre-finished or painted on site? Oh, you can see the brush marks. So it is so, they'll paint the downspouts too. You'll see it, and you'll see the overrun of the paint on the top of the gutter. So if they paint the front, they don't normally paint the top. So you'll see the brush strokes of somebody who's painted or even sprayed it. I saw one guy who sprayed his gutters and they're white on top and brown on the front. It was clear as day, so you could see it. But yeah. So when I first started, I painted a few gutters that were pre-finished. Yeah, and it, you know, but yeah, you can see, I have to take a close up. Basically, I'll walk up to it, I'll take a really super close up. But here's the thing, if you are replacing the gutter, like the downspout, and it's painted, then I don't have to paint it again. I just put back white. I don't have to put white downspouts and paint them. Now, if they're cream, then that's a different story. They may not have a cream downspout. Maybe they painted it an odd color. So that's when I would paint. I would put in a line item to paint the downspouts if it was a unique color. But a lot of times people are not painting them beige or weird colors. They're painting them the standard colors that most of the gutters already come in, brown and white. So that's, you know. Old hail damage. How do you distinguish between old hail damage from new on roof accessories? Yeah, we really don't know. So that's really an interesting question. But here again, you're a documenter. Okay, so if I take a photo of that vent, all I'm saying is hail damage on the vent. Now, is that hail damage from 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago? Could be. My point is to make the point there's hail damage on that vent. I don't have to say anything about it unless there was maybe a prior claim. That's the only time that's going to come back where you're going to have to be very specific. And you're going to say, I reviewed the past estimate and there was hail damage on that vent. Reviewed, new vent. I looked at the vent again, no new hail damage was found based on the prior photos. So that's why it's important for us to take take photos of damaged and not damaged items. So if I get up on a roof, I'm going to take all the vents. I'm going to take a picture of all those vents that are metal, just in case I'm only replacing one. So let's say I get on the roof and there's no hail damage on the roof that's discernible, yet I've got pea-size damage on the vent. Because it's aluminum, it could dent without damaging the shingle. Now, it's a very close line to be able to say there isn't granule damage on the roof. So yeah, it's one of those ones that you want to really be careful about. Look really carefully on that roof and look in your gutters and see, hey, look at all the granules that are in the gutters on a 1-year-old roof. Well, I can then say evidence of granule loss to the shingle, even though specific hail hits were not seen, but verified it by the hail damage that's on the vents, that pea-size hail occurred. Okay, or the flashing pea-size hail damage was seen on the flashing on the roof. Pea-size hail was seen on the gutter downspouts. Pea-size hail was seen on the gutters. Whatever I have to do to verify it, I can then justify buying that roof by taking a photo of the granules that are in the gutters, whole big pile of granules, and say, yes, granule loss is evident from the amount of granules that is not typical of this kind of wear and tear for this year shingle. So I bought a roof for granule loss many a times. And as long as my story is good, got collateral, I've got metal damage, I've got flashing damage, I've got gutter downspout damage, I got screen damage that shows pea-size, and then I got a bunch of granules in the gutters, I'm going to buy that roof for granule loss. So, all right, Lavelle, hey, thank you for the question. I don't remember you. There's a lot of people starting to recognize names, so I'm glad you guys are coming back to the board together. So, Hatham, just got my license and I worked to get Xactimate 1. Do you think it's too late to get deployed this year? Oh, no, absolutely not. We haven't even started. So there hasn't even been a hurricane there was one little tidbit down there in Louisiana, I guess, came in. Yeah, so we haven't really had an event. I was telling you guys that I don't really see hurricane season until August. So that's when everything starts to get really hot. So this is where you get these record days. August is the hot month. So to me, we're ripe for a storm next week. I mean, we are so ripe. Everything is hot. Everything is churning. All the waters are warming up in the Gulf, Florida coast, North Carolina coast. All the waters are warm. Here's another one. The sharks, if they come into the coastline, the water is hot. Okay, that's where all the small fish are gathering. It's warm, they like it. Okay, so when you start hearing about shark sightings and shark bites, that's hurricane season. Okay, that's just me. I'm a weather guy, so I pay attention to this stuff. And when I start seeing the sharks come in, they're looking for the warm fish that are coming into the coastline. So, as a new adjuster, this is an urgent time for you. You don't want to wait to get your licenses when the event occurs. You'll never get your license. So if Texas is having a hurricane out in the Gulf and you go to apply for your Texas license, you're not going to get it. There'll be a backlog and you won't get it. So what I tell people is get yourself ready now. I mean, you can crash course a level 1 and level 2 Xactimate in a month. You can get both those certifications in a month. You kill yourself, you get it done. It's a hard course, but it takes some dedicated time, and you can knock out both those certifications in a month. You can apply for all these licenses, just as long as you have the money to apply for them, or take that first license of Texas or Indiana or Florida. You can knock that out in a week. You can study like a mad dog and get that thing knocked out in a week, and then as soon as you get that license, then you start applying to all these other, you can throw out $1,000 and go off and get all your licenses you need for all the coastal states and be done. And those all come in, and when the storm happens, guess what? I'm licensed in that state, send me. So, you know, those are the things I try to tell you guys to get ready for, is that you have to make yourself presentable to somebody, the rosters that you're on, that somebody's going to look at you and go, okay, he doesn't have any experience, but he's level 1 and level 2 certified, he's State Farm certified, he's TWIA certified, and then, you know, he's got 8 licenses. Man, this guy really wants to be an adjuster. So the opportunity for them to give you a second look, okay, we got a great trainer on this deployment, I think this will be a perfect opportunity to take a new guy in. And that's what they do. I was a brand new guy, got deployed to a hailstorm I knew nothing about. I mean, nothing. And I had a good trainer, I had a really terrible file reviewer, and it was the worst experience of my life. But I was so glad I got deployed because it went on my resume, and I got deployed again very quickly to another hailstorm. Because they saw it as, hey, he's already been on a cat and did a hail claim. I was horrible, but I didn't have to tell anybody. And I went with a different firm on the second one, so they didn't, you know, they don't report firm to firm how you did, so you just get to put it on your resume. And, you know, I remember, I'll tell you a funny story. When I was a carpenter, when I was learning how to do interior trim, I was putting up handrails. And handrails are the hardest part about interior trim. These are the handrails that go downstairs. And I was working for this builder, and I was brand new, just getting into it, and I was just out on my own. One of the first builders I ever had that was willing to give me a shot. And he was probably more tolerable of me than he ever should have been. But I remember when I finished the handrail, the posts were still wobbling around. I couldn't get them. I didn't know how to do them. I was reading books and studying everything I could about how to put these handrails up to make them secure. And he was so nice, he comes up and he puts his hand on the handrail and he goes, yep, I think we need to tighten this one up a little bit. And then you go to the next one. Yeah, that one too. And yeah, I think we're just gonna get those a little tighter. And I remember doing some of the craziest stuff to try and make that thing sturdy. And eventually, after, you know, 2 or 3 attempts, it sufficed. So why I bring that story up is it's very similar to when you get deployed to your first storm. Is you're going to get those claims back 3 times with errors. You can be like so frustrated, and you're like, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm doing this. No one's going to hire me after this. And then when you get done and you put it on your resume that I got deployed and I did 20 claims or whatever it was, no one asks you how you did. No one does. They just see it on your resume and say, I got deployed to this storm. And so then as time passes, you just keep on adding the next storm, the next event, daily claims, auto claims. You just keep on adding this experience, you know, and you handle general liability. You have no clue. You know, when I was first starting, I did a general liability claim for a contractor who damaged the pool liner when he was putting in the pool. I knew nothing about pools, but I just had to go out and take photos of the damaged pool liner that was pulling off of the side of this pool because the owner was filing a suit against the liability of the contractor who put the pool liner in, saying he did a bad job and he didn't do it right. And the pool guy was not willing to come back and fix it. So the guy filed a suit against him, basically a general liability claim against the guy's insurance for the pool liner. Well, I come out there and I just had to basically take photos of the damaged pool liner and write a report saying, yep, looks like there's damage to the pool liner. It doesn't look like it's supposed to be doing like that. I got the contractor's information, went and talked to him. He says, I'm not fixing it. Put that on my report. I knew nothing of what I was doing. But I got to put that on my resume as I handled some general liability claims. And I did some really cool stuff like investigated car wrecks, like going to these sites and doing intersection reporting. And all they wanted was somebody to go out and take photos of the intersection and show the speed limit signs, and show the yield signs, show the stop signs, so whatever, so that this wreck happened at a one of those turning circles, one of those what do you call them, things that they're supposed to do for making roads better. Instead of putting stop signs, they put in these stupid circle things. Anyway, so somebody wrecked because they didn't merge, and they hit each other, and so the insurance company's job for me was to go out and take photos of the intersection as pretending like I was this vehicle, 1,000 feet back, 500 feet, 250, and then close up and showing the signs, taking close-ups of, hey, this is speed limit, merge, yield this, whatever, and then getting on the traffic circle and then showing the guy like he's driving, around the circle and what he would see. Take those photos and write a report. That was fun. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just followed the instructions. Yeah, roundabout, there you go. I was just following the instructions of what the assignment was for this claim. Again, taking any claim that comes in, whether you have experience or not, you're an adjuster, you can handle those. You might have to do a little research on how to handle it, and the file reviewer might have to correct you and tell you, hey, can you put this in the report? It doesn't look like you included this, blah, 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 or this photo is missing. Yeah, you might have to drive back out and take the photo they were missing, whatever. So you learn on how to do these things because of just getting the opportunity to do it. So, like I was saying, you get it on your resume so that when you send that resume out, the firm is looking at those resumes and saying, what kind of experience does this guy have? Oh, he's done a general liability one, he's done we did a vehicle inspection, he's done auto inspection. All of a sudden it starts to make you look like you're a very well-rounded adjuster that everybody thinks differently when they read it. So they're looking at it and going, wow, look at all this continuing education, extra courses he's got down at the bottom, and he's got all that, he's got some construction, he's got home inspection, and and whatever, he's fluent in Word and Excel, and he knows how to use Outlook, and whatever. And then, so by the time you build your resume, it's starting to look like you are the professional, and this is the whole point of your resume, is to make it look like when somebody glances at your resume, you have got all the valuable skills that will make you do this job well. You're just trying to convince that person to give you an opportunity to do this claim. And so they'll do it. And if you're not good at it, it's okay. There's lots of research out there that'll teach you how to do it, and you kind of flow through it, and as long as they accept it and they say, yeah, good job, you can close the claim, then you did a suffice job enough for reporting as that adjuster on a brand new thing you never did. So never be afraid to take on new things. Like one of the things I'm thinking about doing when I'm old and I don't want to climb roofs anymore is to be a crop adjuster. So I studied a little bit up on this, and it's really fascinating because, I remember a hurricane comes through, or the better example is a tornado. So a tornado comes through and the guy's got a full crop of corn up. And this thing goes through his 5,000 acre farm and does all these turns and wiggles and does all this stuff and ruins a bunch of his crop, a third of his crop maybe, who knows, a quarter of his crop. He files a claim and says, I lost a lot of crop here. I want to get reimbursed for this because this will cost, my yield will go up, my cost to produce this, I'm just not going to make the profit. All that seed that I put in, all the fertilizer, all that, I've lost a lot of money. So a crop adjuster gets to play with a lot of toys. And the toys are, number one, you gotta have to have a four-wheeler, ATV or something like that to zoom all over the property to take some GPS measurements. You also get to fly a drone. You also get to fly, put these GPS sticks in to mount, going around and basically on the edges of this tornado track, I'm going down and staking GPS coordinates down the edge of all these things and mapping it on my geo software to basically create a geo map of how much is damaged. Then I do a geomap of the four corners of the property, or all the different corners of his property for his whole property, of that whole corn crop, and then put it in the software, do a calculation to figure out how many acres was lost. And then same thing, kind of like Xactimate does, there'll be software that will tell us what yield, the going rate for corn, for fertilizer, for whatever that is put in there, and that's going to be what I'm going to prepare a report for to send in to this adjuster. Well, the fun thing about that is that I get to play with all these toys. I get to drive, I'm going to get a big old four-wheeler with speakers and jamming music out in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to have my drone that's going to be on its auto thing doing a geo-map of the whole property and flying it all over the place, and then going around, and I just sit beside there with my cooler of drinks and go around geo-map, boop, and go next, drive down 100 feet, boop, do that, and just go around the whole property, and and bring my wife or kids or whatever, whoever wants to come with me, and we just have a day out hanging out in the field of corn, doing this mapping. So that pays really well. Her crop adjusting pays really well because there's a lot of equipment involved, and there's a lot of time involved in mapping those out. Now you would have to live in probably a more rural area and a lot more driving. So I might have to be in North Dakota or South Dakota or wherever these crop places are where there's just tons and tons of land, and there's, but people file claims. And no, it's not, every person in the neighborhood that's filing a claim, but if a tornado happens, then at least you're it might be a catastrophe event. If I had a tornado that was down the ground that gave a mile wide track and it was down on the ground for 13 miles. That's an Oklahoma tornado. That's an Indiana tornado. So that might be something where I could go with all my gear, get deployed as a cat, and handle everyone's property that's down that whole thing, or several properties, to be able to map all that out and get paid handsomely to do it. All your equipment's going to get paid pretty much in the first year. Big investment for the equipment to begin with. But literally, after you handled a year's worth of claims, you're going to have all your equipment paid for in the first year. And then everything else is just fine after that. So that's something I'm thinking about moving into, because it's a division. Like when you get your Texas All Lines insurance, it covers every imaginable insurance that you can handle, of anything of insurance. Now some of the states, I can't remember which one it was, but I got a state that said you can't get the crop, it was West Virginia, I think, you can't get the crop adjusting until you take a crop adjuster course. Okay, so they wanted you to have a specific knowledge of crop adjusting, so I couldn't add that on to my license. So yeah, so some states will be very specific and say you have to have that crop specialty put in, but yeah, but lots of things. And somebody brought up in the last live, there was boat, marine. Hey, when we have a hurricane, we got 10,000 boats that just got thrown up on the water and thrown inland, 5 miles from the storm and put on top of a water tower or whatever, just crazy stuff. And auto stuff, tons and tons of cars. And so there's so much work that you can find as an adjuster. But again, got to get the license. So I got a license, I can handle anything in North Carolina for that license. I mean, everything I can handle. I may not be skilled in those areas, so that's going to be something that, hey, if I start handling some medical claims, if I want to be an investigator and start looking around to see if people are ripping off insurance companies for medical fraud, I could move into that side and start following people around with a camera and seeing whether they, they're walking when they say they have a limp, or, whatever. There's all sorts of things. There's lots of crime investigators, fraud investigators in the insurance world that can give you tons of work. So that's what's so cool about this line of work, is there's plenty of opportunities. You literally can never be out of work, because as soon as one area slows down, then you just move into another area. If you don't like daily claims, then go be a cat adjuster. If you don't like cat adjusting, then go be an auto adjuster. If you don't like working auto, then go to work some medical. If you don't want to do that, go work auto claims liability and talk about car accidents all day. So if you don't like car accidents, well then do total loss and work just work on vehicles. Or maybe you just wanted to go and learn how to inspect cars for that damage. There's just so many. Maybe you only want to do dents for hail. There's a whole certification for dent removal stuff. So there's just really a lot of opportunity for many different types of claim work that literally, if you're not working, it's because you just really aren't pursuing the training, number one, in the area that you want to go into, or number two, you're just not pursuing it. So I really encourage you guys to pursue. If they're not calling you, call them. They don't call you next week, call them again. And just keep pursuing, and then, but you got to make sure you're ready. Get your licenses, get your resume looking great, so that when they pull that resume and there's a storm, yeah, let's go. We get a whole lot of experience, but we need adjusters. And you got all licensing, you got all certifications, you're ready to go. They're going to take you in a heartbeat. So, all right, Adam. Good questions, guys. So cool. Don't forget to hit the like button, whatever you have to do to tell me that you like this video. Super chat, super like, thanks button on all the way things. Do what you got to do. I don't know all those things. I'm not a professional, but it is fun. Got my license. Oh, I talked about that one. South Florida here. Adam, you have a lot of great knowledge. I have been an IA for 14 years. Awesome, Adam. Well, thanks for joining me. Picture tells 1,000 words. You're right. That's why I'm never afraid to take more pictures when I'm on doing an inspection, because you can then zoom into that photo. So the cool thing is you're taking a 2 meg picture. So you can zoom in and screenshot that one area that you didn't close up for and have still another really great picture. So I just take as many pictures as I can take that'll make sure I get enough of them, and if I have to zoom in, I can zoom in and take that separate picture and add it as another picture. So just keep that in mind, that you guys can really, you can learn a lot just looking at your photos while you're sitting at the desk that you didn't catch when you were there inspecting. So yeah, so a lot of people go, why are you taking so many pictures? And I go, well, I just don't want to miss anything. Some people get annoyed and go, why are you taking a picture of the living room? Well, I'm going to show that there's no damage in the living room. You want to get the ceiling painted in the living room, right? Because it joins to the kitchen. So I have to take a picture of the living room. Oh, okay. Or I might tell them ahead of time. I'm taking all these photos and measuring all this room because your floor goes all over the whole house. So if you see me poking around in your closets, that's why. I've got to see where all the wood flooring goes to. So you're just making it clear to them, not just snooping around their house. So you're actually telling them why, because then it's going to get them more money, so they're going to be excited. So they don't mind just snooping around their house. Especially if you got a continuous floor, it goes into the master and then goes into the master closet and then stops at the master bathroom. Well, there's no damage in the master at all, but because the flooring goes continuous, you got to go into their master bedroom. So you might want to tell them before you start snooping around their master bedroom. I'm going to go in there and take a look, see what you got going on. Crazy stuff. All right. How can you differentiate between roof blisters and hail damage? Oh, that's really good. So here, one of the things that that's a key factor that I learned when I was new too. Blisters to me are, so think of a blister as a bubble of black that comes up out of the surface of the shingle and then pops and then shrinks back down and leaves a little knob. It leaves a little black knob right where the spot was where it bubbled up. So it boiled and came back down and kind of shrunk back on itself. So the HAG book, which is HAG certification, shows us what blisters look like, but it's a very telltale sign. The granules do not stay in the center of that blister. So when they come up, it's like when it pops, all the blisters, all the granules fly off, comes down, and stays black. So pretty much you can tell a blister from a hail hit because a hail hit has granules still in the center, and a lot of times they're compressed, broken, or indented into the center of that mark. Okay, so if you pull up and you see a nice clear black mark and there's no granules in the center of that, I'm crushing that shingle with a hail hit. I'm not blowing up and shooting outwards and all the granules are disappearing. They're being compressed and stuck into the pad or stuck into the fiberglass of that shingle. So I'm looking for compression. So I'll use your finger on the bigger stuff, and you can kind of feel that spot and kind of feel the indent. And what I really like is when the sun's hitting perfectly down, especially when I do morning appointments, the sun will come down and will, on one of those slopes, I can actually see the divot so perfectly, like the actual round hole. And I just take a great photo of that. I purposely try to find one slope that has that perfect shadowing that shows me that. Because when that sun's coming down on 12 o'clock, and that's why I don't do afternoon appointments or anything where the sun's directly overhead, is it makes it really hard to see the markings on a questionable or borderline hail claim. So that's where the sun just coming right over the peak of one of those slopes just shows perfect, absolute picture perfect dents. And so if you take 8 or 9 of those photos, you can justify the whole roof and prove that there was hail damage on the roof, just not one slope. Now, obviously you got to find the other slope with the same damage or similar damages, but if you have one slope that's picture perfect hail damage, then you have just taken out every question for that desk adjuster of, did the hail exist or did it occur at this house? Because that's the first thing they're doing. They're pulling these stupid hail reports from Verisk or from wherever else, these places they're getting the hail reports. And if it says there was no hail at that house, they take it like it's God. And I'm like, I have proved you 100,000,000 times to 1 that I can find hail damage on a house where Verisk says there was no damage, because they just didn't have a report, because they're looking for something that's 3/4 of an inch or bigger. And if a 3/4 of an inch didn't occur at that house, they say 0 probability or 25% probability. When half-inch hail or pea-size hail did occur and did granule loss that roof or did damage that roof, Verisk will say it wasn't there. Well, they try and swear up and down that, hey, we're not paying for this. Verisk said it wasn't there. I'm like, it doesn't matter. My photos prove it was there. I show a tape measure. I show that it's half-inch. I show metal damage. I show flashing damage. I show gutter damage. Downspout. Half-inch hail will damage the house. I show all the granules in the gutters. But then if I have that perfect slope where the sun is coming right down and I show the indents, boom, I got 8 or 10 hits in a square in a heartbeat with dents on that roof with granules missing out of the center of those hits. There are no desk adjusters going to prove to me that hail didn't exist at that house. And that's all our job is. Our job is to prove it was there. And I will bat left and right. If a desk adjuster is going to argue with me and tell me that they don't see it in the photos, I go, well, you just can't see it in the photos, but it's there. And, that's why it's my job to get those really close-up photos, put a tape measure next to it to show the size. Hey, this is a half-inch hail, not 3/4. It's here. Granules, I can show that nice beautiful dent on the gutters. When I chalk those gutters and I show the nice little dent on top, hey, those things are tiny. They're pea size, okay, that will damage the gutter top edge. So I run my chalk down that with a nice dark chalk like black or dark blue or some dark pink or something like that. I just run down there and I can show 8 or 10 of those or even 3 of those on a run that's 35 feet long, the whole length of the house. All I gotta do is get one hit on the top of that gutter, pea size, and I'm buying that whole gutter. And I'll do it on every side of the house. All I gotta do is one hit. One hit on a seamless gutter is gonna buy that whole length. So that's your job to find it. Same reason why, if you go the whole house and you have no collateral damage, nowhere, no gutters, no screens, no downspouts, no flashing, no vents, and then you try and claim that there's hail damage on the roof, you're going to have a hard story to prove. You may be looking at the wrong stuff. So that's why all those other items that you're looking for are there to justify. You're building a story in your report to prove there was damage on that roof. And so it works out really well. I love proving it. I'm kind of the guy who says, okay, I know that, Morrisville had some hail damage. Let's see if it's on this house. And so I purposely try very, very difficult, very hard to find it, so that they can't come back later and say, well, you just overlooked it, or no, it's not here. I don't want somebody telling me that, because that's where I'm going to gain my worth. As an adjuster, I'm coming in as the pro. I'm coming in as the guy who the insurance company has said, okay, we know you're unbiased. We know that you're not vested in this house without paying it. You're not trying to make money like the roofer is. You're not trying to get out of paying like the insurance company is. We're the neutral third party that they are vesting in us to say, can you give us an honest opinion of whether there was damage here or not? You are the pro. You're the guy that everybody's relying on to verify, number one, for the roofer. So the roofer's done you a nice little work there and said, yep, I'm pretty sure there's hail damage out here, but because the insurance company doesn't believe me, they're going to send out an independent adjuster. So you are the pro. You now have to prove it to the insurance company that it's there, because they're going to do everything they can to say it's not there, because they don't want to pay. Now, I don't want to say they don't want to pay. I just say, you know, they have to remember the mentality of the insurance company is we don't pay 1 penny more and we don't pay 1 penny less of what we owe. So if they can do something to say, there's no way, you know, I'm going to send an engineer out and the engineer is going to prove there was no hail damage on that roof, they're going to do it if they feel they can get away with not paying, because they want to make money. So you have to understand that relationship with the insurance company. They're not out to do people wrong, because they owe what they owe. So don't see them as crooks, just see them as they're just watching their bottom line and saying, is there any way we can get out of not paying this, or proving there was no hail at that location, or there was prove it that it was, you know, long-term damage and they neglected to report, or whatever. They're going to do everything they can to enforce in that policy why they don't have to pay. It's our job to go the other route and say, based on my experience, I have seen multiple houses with granule loss. I have seen multiple damage I have not seen multiple houses with this amount of granules sitting in the gutters that's only a 1-year-old shingle. You know, you can start to use that expertise and be able to say, the damage on this roof is not consistent with the age of the shingle. The granules in the gutters is not consistent with the age of the shingle. You know, so you can start to use that professionalism to say there has to have been granule loss that was not typical of the age of the shingle. Therefore, based on the collateral damage, based on the gutter damage, based on the vent damage, there was very small hail here that caused damage to that shingle. And you can justify to pay it. So it's our job to make sure. Now, the reason why it's important for us to do that thorough of a job is we make more if we write that estimate. Not a ton more. Some houses we will, but just see it as, you know, if you take the time and you do a really, really good job and you really try to seek out to find that damage, think about it. If you just glance over the screens and you don't pay attention to all the screens, then you may be potentially missing $40 a screen for every screen that got hail damaged. So I take the close-ups. I go right in there and I go, yep, there's a little mark there. There's a little mark down the bottom corner. And then I go to the next screen, and guess what? That same consistent marking is there. Well, if I was standing 4 feet back, I might not be able to see that pea-size screen damage. Now, somebody could say, oh, that's just a bird. Well, yes, it could have been, but why is it on every screen? So that's where you're going to be able to go. I reviewed all screens on the back elevation, and all screens had similar damage, replacing all 8 screens. Well, 8 screens times 40 something is, you know, $300-400 that you get to add to your estimate. So that's going to add to your bottom line. Same thing with getting all the gutters. Take a little longer look for your gutters. It's a pain in the neck to get right there down by the edge. It might be a little freaky for you new guys to have to go down and chalk that gutter when you feel like you might fall off the roof. Well, the reason why that's important is I only need one hit to buy that whole length of gutter. And if I go, you know, 35 feet of gutter on the back and 45 down the left side and 45 down the right side and, you know, another 30 something down the front, I start adding in $1,000, $1,500 worth of gutters. That's a nice addition to your estimate, along with the $10,000 or $12,000 for your roof. So it just really pays to look for that damage. For you as an adjuster, it can make the difference between going from one point of that fee schedule to the next level of fee schedule because you spend a little more time doing that inspection and looking carefully. So, yeah, good stuff. Do I deal with a lot of PAs? No. Hey, there's D-Ice. D-Nice. I was just talking about you. You missed 2 hours, man. We've been on here for 2 hours. I was just talking about how great it was that you have been watching all my videos and leaving comments about every video you watched. And I was telling them it was really funny because you'd watch a video and you'd leave a comment and you'd say, that was a great video. And then about 20 minutes later, that was a great video. And it's just you were working right through them all. You're watching them all. So D-Nice, thank you so much for watching my stuff. That means a lot. And as a new adjuster, you're going to be really good. So that's it, guys. There's so much stuff in those videos that I put in. Don't call me up, shoot me a message and go, do you have a video about this? Because I want you to make sure that you've looked carefully, put a search in the video bar and say, reciprocity or whatever it happens to be. And one of those videos, because I put the keywords in a lot of times into those videos, will come up. And I probably have a video in there of something that you've asked. So not that I wouldn't answer your question, but I don't, I have people that will contact me as new adjusters and go, do you have a video on how to get your license? And I mean, clearly you haven't watched any of my videos because I talk a lot about licensing. So those are the types of questions I'm trying to avoid. Not that I'm not willing to help you, but as an adjuster, you gotta remember, you're self-employed, you're self-taught, means you're going out and you're seeking the places to get in individual training, you're seeking the places on how to get licensed, you're doing your training, you're studying your continuing education to become a better adjuster. When you become a better adjuster, now you get to put it on your resume. You're proving to whoever you want to get hired by, I'm a good adjuster because look at all this training I've got. You are representing you and your business and you personally against whoever else might be applying for that same position as another adjuster. Did you guys hear that? 2 adjusters applying to the same firm. Who are they going to choose? The person who did a really good job on their resume and looks really good, or a guy who's just kind of flippantly throwing it out there and hoping he gets hired? That's how you have to view everything that you do forward as an independent adjuster, is that you're there to make yourself, number one, to make yourself stand out, to do a great estimate, with as few as returns as possible. We all get, I always get reviews, like back, corrections, small little details. Because when you're putting a couple hundred items on the estimate, you got a file reviewer who's looking at this thing for the first time. They're going to see things that you didn't see. And, they're going to have questions about, well, why are you putting that on the estimate or whatever. So reviews are not bad. You just don't want them writing back and saying, well, you said this was a 3-tab, but this is a 30-year shingle. You just put the whole wrong item on. You don't want them writing stuff like that back. And that's what I was saying. My macros really help to make sure that some of those simple errors don't happen over and over again, because they're so embarrassing when they come back and go, oh, that's crazy. You put in 40 feet and there's only 4, whatever. So you got to review your estimates when they get done for those, you don't just get it done and say, oh, got it done, and then turn it in. No, yeah, there you go, Adam. That's a great trait, is rechecking and rechecking. He says it does it 3 times. Yeah. I don't do it 3 times, but I do a really good, thorough second time. So to me, I've been able to do a really good first time, but then I do a really thorough second time. And then if I get up and take a break, maybe I had to go to the bathroom, I was just dying, I had to go. And I've left the checking, I'll start back over again. Okay, make sure that I didn't skip something in the middle that I was reviewing. So yeah, so that's what I do, is I do a really, really, really good second overview. And then if it comes back, I got a couple, 3 minor little fixes, and I've got great file reviewers that a lot of times will fix them for me, because they just are, they're great. They're great file reviewers, and they like working my stuff, and I like them because they do those little favors for me, and don't send the file back and say, can you fix this one little thing here, or you change the depreciation to this, whatever, things that take them seconds to fix. they'll be more apt to do those things for you as you become a better adjuster and you're actually making their job easier. And yes, Adam, you can look at that 3 times and you'll still find something. It's just, but again, you want to get to a point where you can turn in an estimate and you justifying what you're putting on your estimates. You don't want to spend a ton of time. You know, maybe when you're new, you spend a little bit of time reviewing them very, very carefully, but you don't want that to be a point where it slows you down, takes you another 20 minutes to review everything again, because then you're really killing your productivity. So do a really good job the first time. Try to really take your time, not rush through things. Don't take any breaks while you're in the middle of writing up the damage in a room, because then when you come back, you won't remember what you wrote, what you didn't, and what you forgot, and what you didn't. So I always try and get to a point where I wrote the whole estimate, then I'll take a break. Then I come back, I recheck the estimate, see if I got everything, review the photos again. And then when I write the report, it's really funny because when I have to document the damages in the report, it'll jog my memory for, oh, I forgot to put on that vent in the dryer. Yeah, that dryer vent was damaged. And then I'll have to go back and put it in my estimate. So I do catch some stuff when I'm having to dictate, because I'm reviewing my photos, I'm reviewing my paper notes, because I write on my notes what is damaged on each elevation. So if I forgot the dryer vent, I'm going to be going through and go, oh yeah, the dryer vent, I forgot to put that in the estimate. It must have been when I went to the bathroom that I forgot to put it on. So yeah, those are all things that you'll catch. Because sure enough, when you turn it in, your file reviewer is going to go, well, you said in this photo that you have a dryer vent damaged, but you didn't put it on the estimate. You're going to look like an idiot. So don't do those types of forgets. You said the damaged, the downspout was damaged. Well, why is that not on the estimate on the rear elevation? So those are things that you just don't want to make those mistakes, because those are the ones that make you go, the file reviewer is going to be kind of frustrated with you going, I can't believe you forgot that. Especially if it happens over and over again. Then he's going to go, can you review your stuff a little better before you send it in here? I'm not your check-all. So then you're going to tick off your file reviewer. You're going to start building a reputation that you don't really check your stuff. And then that's going to get over to your manager. Your manager is going to remember that. And if it continues to happen, when a new adjuster comes into the area, guess who's going to start getting some claims? So that's how they weed out the bad guys. Corey, there he is, my man. I was just talking about you. Corey, have you been on the live the whole time? Because I was actually just talking about you earlier today, too, saying we finally got the macros working for Corey. So I was doing shout outs for all the guys that have been leaving me notes. And Corey, I felt so bad for you. Oh, you just got on. Yeah, well, I talked about you. Your ears were burning, I'm sure. So I was just saying how faithful you were to not complain when they weren't working. And then eventually we worked it out together to make sure that we got you those macros working. So thanks, and thanks for the gift too, man. Totally awesome. Yeah, no kidding. So I told you I was going to do a live. I just didn't tell you what time I was going to do it. He asked me that when I talked to him on the phone. He said, when are you going to go live? I said, Sunday. So I guess he was busy doing something like he should be with his kids instead of with me. So guys, I think I'm going to end here. I'm so sorry, Corey. I'm going to have to quit. I've been on here for 2 hours and 18 minutes. So yeah, I think what I'm going to try to do is maybe make it like a standard 5 o'clock or something like that I get on, just so you guys have a regular time, because this works out really good for me, just personally, so I still have my evening. In fact, I've still got to call people. This I was telling you about earlier, is that I've got a claim that I've got to call, because I have to call them every day. If they didn't respond back to me, then I have to put a contact note in again every day that they don't call. So this person didn't call me, and so I've got to put in a file note and call them to say I attempted to call them again, even though I know they're probably not going to call me or not going to answer me. But every day that goes by with an open claim, we have to put a file note in to say we made contact with them. And if we don't, guess what's going to happen tomorrow morning is my manager is going to write me and say, we are required to put a file note in every day as we make attempts to contact the insured. And we have to do everything possible to reach them. So if he goes into the file and he sees an email address for the insured, but he doesn't see a file note in my notes saying that I contacted and sent an email, then it makes me look like I'm skipping out on all the possible ways to contact the insured. So we just don't want those opportunities to show up to our managers because they're checking up on us all the time. Remember, we're working for the firm. The firm has to answer to the carrier, well, why is your adjuster not being diligent to reach out to the insured like he's supposed to be? And that's going to start to make the firm look bad, while the firm is not going to want to look bad. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to chew your butt out for not doing a good job because you just made them look bad to the carrier. We don't want that. We don't ever want a scenario where we are causing the firm to look bad. So we do our job so that they never have to correct us. And again, this is that self-employment mentality. You do everything you can because you're contracted with that firm to do a good job. These stupid rosters you fill out, guys, there's a 20-page document in there that's telling a contract that you have between them and some of them are not that long, some are 4 or 5 pages. But anyways, you have a document that is saying you're going to do this as an IA working for this firm. And all those details in there. You're going to contact, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you can tell us when you're not going to be here, whatever. All the details of their contract. You are signing a contract as an independent adjuster that you're going to do your best job because you're working for them, or they're going to get rid of you. And they have that freedom. That's what contract work's about, guys. So let's get the employee mindset out of our heads. Totally out of our heads, guys. We're not in the employee world. Now, Matthew is an employee because he's a staff adjuster, but he still has very high standards that his bosses and his trainers are constantly telling him that he has to live up to as well. So it's not like he's all scot-free and does not do anything. No, he's trying to fight for his raise that he's going to get, minuscule as it is, Matthew. But no, Matthew's fighting to get the promotions, the raise, to try and take the position away from the guy that's above him, that might be a manager or a trainer or wherever he wants to move to. So even as an employee, you still are proving yourself that you're worth your spot. But even so more, as an independent, you are guaranteeing that you're better than that adjuster, and that adjuster, and that adjuster, and that adjuster, who all want your position. So people are fighting for my position here in North Carolina all the time, and I have to remember that, okay? As soon as you lose sight and take for granted your position as an IA, if you're starting to work daily claims or CAT claims, you have to remember your mindset is, I'm here to prove my position, keep my position, prove that I'm worth that position so that my managers will still want me. Okay, so I mentioned this before. I've worked on that mindset unbelievably hard for the first 3 years of trying to prove my worth to all these firms. Everything, upside down, backwards, bend over, whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do everything you want to be the best adjuster for that company. I have proven that. Okay, so now in the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, all those years that come to follow, now the consistency is my proof. So they may have known at the beginning that I was going to be super good. I'm just trying to get the position, I'm trying to get the spot, whatever, and I'm doing everything because I'm just new. When you get into your 4th and 5th and 6th year, now they're going to be looking, well, is he still consistent, or is he changing? Is his work product getting sloppy? Is he not doing a really good job anymore? Those are the things that they're going to start to watch for. Well, then as soon as you can prove yourself, and now your manager's looking at your file review and he's saying, man, your files are still awesome. You're still getting great reviews on your file, quarterly reviews. Your times are still awesome. You're doing a great job. Then all of a sudden, you now become valuable. And these managers tell me this. They'll come up to me and go, Daniel, you're top 5 adjusters that we have at the firm right now. We're really glad to have you. They'll send you Christmas gifts. They'll send you bonuses. They'll do little extra special things for you. They just love you. That's because you're making them money. You're making them the 40% of your paychecks going to them. Okay? And that's 40% of what they're billing the insurance company. So 40% goes to them, 60 goes to you. You're making them money. They're making a whole salary off of you. And as long as you're doing great work and you're bringing honor and praise to that firm, then that firm is going to be very grateful for you. Now, when it comes down to your requests, so when I change my desires and I say, you know, I really want to move into the catastrophe work. I know I'm a daily claim guy, and you know, taking some time off. But hey, if there's a storm in Texas, I want to go. And that manager will then say, okay, guys, flag the file. Daniel wants to go on a catastrophe in Texas. He's got family in Texas, and he wants to go visit them after the storm. So let's put him as a priority if we ever get a storm. Those managers, because you've been so faithful in the past, are going to make sure they are faithful to you in the future if that storm comes. And it might be 6 months before that storm happens, maybe a whole year before that storm happens, but they have flagged your file because they're trying to do something for you, because you've been so faithful to be good to them. So it's a really neat relationship that you won't experience as a staff adjuster or an employee of any business. Your boss, typically, you know, they want to make sure they look good to their bosses. If you do your job well, then it's okay. You know, you haven't flagged them, you haven't made them look bad, you haven't affected their job position, so therefore you're just a good employee. And so that's typical of really any job where you're an employee, is you really don't get the praise that you deserve for doing a good job, because it's expected that you're going to do the mediocre, you're going to do the average that everybody else is doing. You're not going to do the bad job. You're not going to, you know, be a showboat and look really good and make everybody else look bad. You're going to do your good job. And I hated that about employee work, is because I was never an average Joe. I was the guy who always wanted to improve and be better and better and better and faster and more efficient. Well, when I was in an employee scenario, that boss never appreciated me. He never paid me anymore. He'd, oh, we'll give you a 10-cent raise or 25-cent raise. Yeah, you're worth a few dollars more. In fact, when I was doing carpentry, working for somebody, the guy promised me all these things in the future, and then when I got to them in a month, he didn't give me the raise. All the things that he promised that he was going to do, he didn't do, because I got there really fast. He was thinking it was going to take a whole year, and he was going to pay me $5 more an hour if I got all my tools and all these things that he said. I went out there and, you know, busted my tail on the weekends, cutting grass and doing all this other stuff so I could buy my tools, so I wasn't using his tools, so I could get the $5 an hour raise, because that's what he said. And then when it came around, I said, hey, I got all my tools down. I'm not using any of your tools. I'm bringing them in every day using my tools, so I'm not using yours. When do I get that raise? Oh, we don't have that ability at this point to get you that raise. Oh man, so sorry. And I quit him faster than you could imagine, because he wasn't truthful. So kind of see your business as that the more that I put my effort into doing the good job that I'm doing, I'm probably going to increase my own income, my own worth, my own satisfaction in my job tenfold. It's just going to keep happening. You're going to get to the point where you are a benefit to people. You're pleasing people, and they're happy with you. And so that's what I strive for, and I am proof here to prove that it happened. So now, if I want time off, I just call them and tell them. There's no questions, absolutely none, for any time that I want off. If I want to go into catastrophe, I tell them, they'll have me on the first one that goes. If I want to pick up some extra work in South Carolina, say, hey, have you got any extra work in South Carolina? I'm willing to go on the weekends. Guess what? I'm going to have 5 claims in my box tomorrow, because he's going to take them away from an average Joe adjuster, which there are lots of those. And because I'm the guy that does him right, he's going to sneak him away from somebody else and give him to me to make me happy, because that's what I want. I've done it and it works. And it's a wonderful feeling when you feel like your worth is there. So that's why when people say, are you going to jump around to other firms? I go, no. I've got two great firms that reward me. I have great managers. They like me. They praise me. They give me bonuses. Why would I change? I mean, I'm in a great position at this point. I'm making more money than I need, and no debt. And I mean, guys, it's just it's a good scenario. It paid off over the course of time. So like I said, you put in your 3 years, it's rough. You're fighting to get the job. 4, 5, and 6 year for me was a year of proving, but consistently going pretty good. And now I'm in the 7, 8, 9, 10, and everything is gravy and doing really well. And now I can kind of coast along knowing that work's always going to be there. I can branch out to any venue that I want and know that I probably got a firm that can bless me with that. If I wanted to move, I've had every manager tell me that if I ever moved, they would find me work in that area. So if I decided I wanted to live in Colorado, I literally in 1 week would be working again, because they will literally take the work from whoever's there and ease out of their workload to give me an opportunity to go. Now, there may be a question of, well, maybe it's not good this week, but we're gonna work something out and get you working a month. How about that? And be like, sure. You know, they'll do everything they can because they don't want to lose me as an adjuster. Think about it. If I'm telling them I'm leaving because my family is sick in Colorado and I've got to go, then they know they've just lost 40% income if I'm leaving. So they don't want to miss out on that opportunity, and they know how much I work, and that's a lot of money for them. So they're going to do everything they can to find me work somewhere else. They might say, well, in that town we don't have it, but do you think you could drive 30 minutes more and then we can get you over in this town because we don't have coverage over there? So that might be a question they would say, and I might have to make a decision and go, do I want to travel 30 minutes more to get, to whoever I'm going to see or wherever I wanted to live? That might be something for me, because if they say they don't have anybody, then I might get actually more claims going to that area because they have a need. So we'll kind of see that. And that's what I do when I traveled around. I said, where do you have a need? You have a need in Louisiana. Well, I don't like Louisiana. I said that to myself. I hate Louisiana. Sorry. Whoever lives in Louisiana, fine. But New Orleans is a yucky, yucky place. A yucky place to handle claims. And, they said, we need somebody there because we just can't seem to keep people in Louisiana. I was like, okay, well, I'll go to Louisiana. I didn't stay there very long, but I was more than happy to help. And it helped them because they had a need. And, think about it. If they don't have somebody in the area, then they're having to call somebody that may be 2 hours away and say, can you start handling these claims? Well, that's not going to make that guy real happy either. If he's driving 2 hours all the time to do 10 claims a week or 14 claims a week. So they needed somebody in the area that I was working. So when I came into the rescue and said that I was going to go to the area, all of a sudden it made everybody happy. Made the guy that was driving 2 hours know how to do that again. He's happy. Firm's looking great because now they got the area in coverage. They can call the carrier and say, we got coverage in that area. We're got you all set. Made them happy and made me happy because I made them happy. And so it was a good choice. But I was trying to find favor with the firm, so I did that little jaunt down there. And no, I didn't like it. No, I didn't like the people. And no, I didn't like the heat and bugs and the stupid gnats are flying up your nose all the time and in your eyes. I mean, it was just nasty. It was a crazy, crazy place. All the drunkards and all the drug addicts and New Orleans is just sorry. So, anyways. All right, now I went even further than I thought, but I thought I'd give Corey his money's worth since he came in late. So, Adam says, thank you for your time and knowledge and advice. Stay safe. Yeah, thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed this time with you guys. I really have. And thank you, Corey, for joining us at the last minute. And for the cash, I do appreciate it. It tells me that you appreciate what I'm doing. And you guys, if you like what I'm doing, make sure you like and put thanks on my videos. There's a little button at the bottom of every one of my videos that says thanks, and just a little token of appreciation for a video that you like. Make sure you do that. Otherwise, we will catch you guys on the next live, which I know will happen next Sunday, unless I'm dead, falling off a roof, and can't do it anymore. I might still do it from my bedroom, in my bed, with a cast on my head. All right, guys, Daniel the Adjuster signing off for you guys. Have a good one. We'll see you some other time.